Morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode 400. Oh my God, I can't believe we made it 400 episodes of this the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah. Boom.
For some reason, my camera's all herky-jerky this morning. I have no idea why.
Oh, yeah.
My processor's running at 30%, so I don't know what it is.
And mine's running better than
Smoothly.
it has been all the last 2 weeks. Hey, I'm not gonna.
Yep. I hear you.
I'm petting the CPU, going very, very nice. If you want to continue behaving, that's a good CPU. Good CPU.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm looking at mine. It's at 27%. I don't know why. It's weird.
Yeah. Today, recording day, is Monday, June 10th, 2024, and it's Mental Health Week. Mental Health Block Week here at the Beaver Lodge. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Okay, and Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today? Something caught my eye and I got distracted for a second.
Oh, okay. Squirrel.
Yep.
Mental health, I think, is pretty good, actually. I'm feeling, well, I was really tired. I didn't sleep well last night. I only got about 4 hours sleep. I don't know why. I went to bed at 10, woke up at 2, and just lied there until the alarm went off at 5:30. Like, really? Could not get back to sleep. Yeah. So it's going to be a bit of a rough day, but I'm working from home today. This is my last week in my current position. So Friday, I have to go into the office Friday. Obviously, I have to hand in my phone and my laptop and tie up loose ends. So,
and I just saw what you meant because on the pre-show you were going, I don't know what's going on for my camera. I'm going from normal to orange, and I just saw you. So it's like Trump has infected our cameras.
Yeah.
There,
I just
not
did it.
Easy being orange. So
I would prefer to not be orange. Thank you.
All right, and yes, as the kids are noticing, and I noticed that too when I clicked on went to YouTube to get the link to put on all our platforms, saying, "Hey, we're going to start soon." Nearly 1,500 subscribe. Like, how did we get for overnight?
Yeah,
it's. Hey, I'm not complaining.
No, we just don't understand.
We
Ads
just
and
don't.
promo, right? There you should be able to see it there.
694 into the last 28 days.
Mm-hmm.
That's like almost half.
Yeah.
subscribers in the
Between
last
promotion and advertising, I mean, it is costing me $250, but it's
Whoa.
yeah, advertising costs money, man. Shit ain't free.
No, I know that. But I didn't know you were putting that into it.
Yeah.
Jeez. Are
That's
you
how
keeping
I
the
got our
bills?
numbers up the first time.
Are you keeping the bills, right? Receipts.
Well, it's all just gets charged to my my Visa card, so
Okay.
it's all in Gmail, my Google, all the settings there, it's all tracked.
All right. Boy, that's a lot of money. We're not raking that in.
Well, here's the funny thing: they offered me $600 in free advertising, and when I clicked on it, they're like, "No, that's expired." But you just offered it to me. Yeah, but it doesn't work. I'm like, okay, whatever. So when I went to run this new campaign, they're like, "Oh, you should up your budget to 2,000." I'm like, "No." I tell you what, if we start earning that much money on a monthly basis or more, then I'll increase it. But for now, no, 250 is as much as I can afford.
Jeez.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, well, kids, Cubs. Oh, boy. All right. In the news, let's start with some soft stuff because they're so. It seems that the government is about to go ahead with its specific bill on the capital gains inclusion increase to try and get to the Conservatives to take a position one way or another, because the leader of the opposition has been playing too cute by half by trying not to answer things or saying that things don't exist. So now there will be a specific bill, and he will have to come out one way or the other for it. I guess he could always choose to abstain.
Yeah.
The whole party could choose to abstain, and that would be interesting. But yes, finally, we are going to, at some point soon, we are going to get a vote, and we're going to see where it is that he stands on that. There's also some complaints going on, and they're not necessarily inaccurate, that the Minister of Finance also kind of botched her press availability with regard to the announcement of the drop in interest rates by the Bank of Canada, because the Liberal government has been taking a lot of heat. I mean, Pierre Poilievre has been blaming them for everything, including like if the sun, rises a minute or something. So, inflation was their fault and interest rates were their fault and all that kind of stuff. So, of course, if the government's going to say, if you're going to make it our fault, well, when it goes down, we're going to start taking credit. But a lot of people chose to interpret that. I listened to it. It's not the best. There could have been other things that were done, and some people did make some good suggestions. But a lot of people seem to interpret that as, well, you can thank us now because it went down for half. And it is true that she said, we put certain things in place. We did this in order to get this result eventually, and now it is happening, which is true.
Very true.
But in an environment where people are expressing frustration and, they're making changes to, adjust to changes in cost of living. And even though interest rates are going down, there are a whole bunch of people for whom, even though interest rates are going down, even though inflation is now within the range, the people who have had set mortgages haven't been affected by that so much, because yes, they've been affected by the food inflation and everything else, but not so much the housing inflation yet, because they were still locked in at other rates. Well, there's going to be a lot of people renewing mortgages, and we're not going to be going back to interest rates that are between 0 and 3%.
No.
Again, right? A lot of countries like to have at least 3 to 3.5%, at least basis rate, in case another recession comes along, so they have room to cut. If you're already at 0 or 1, then you're into negative interest rates. That's not great. So that's not going to happen. So pretty much everyone who had been locked in at those really good rates when they're going to have to renew are going to have. So, even if interest rates go down, because if let's say your mortgage was $2,000 and now you're going to renew it and it's $3,000, well, that's a 50% inflation.
Yeah,
that happens in your cost of living, and it might still be to come for certain people. right? They haven't been hit by it yet, but it's to come. So they're not going to be happy, right? So when our finance minister goes up, like, for example, when she suggested one day that something that you can do is look through, the things to which you subscribe that you may have forgotten or not used so much.
Mhm.
And she suggested, like, we got rid of our Disney Plus, and then everybody mocked her.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's going to make a difference. And I guess, well, yeah, every drop and tittle does add to the pot.
It does. That's the thing.
It is a good advice to go and check out all the things that you're subscribed to and the things that you're not really doing or using anymore as much for, getting rid of them.
Mhm.
Then putting that money to something else. It's a very smart thing. But,
Penny saved is a penny earned, right?
yeah, and you put the 24/7 rage machine. Oh my God, everything the liberals say is corrupt, or oh my God, it's just so stupid. Like the budget will balance itself, which of course
They always leave out the actual.
Yes, but of course it is a principle.
Mhm.
For example, if you've spent a lot, but you've spent it in order to do something that will generate some income, and then it starts to generate some income, and then you keep your spending in check, and then that income benefit starts to happen, and the income benefit starts to surpass what it is that you spent to do it, well then yes, eventually the budget would balance itself. It is an actual thing.
Yes.
Right? This is not something, but of course they just jumped on it, like as if they interpret it as saying, you don't have to do anything, the budget will balance itself. No, you have to put certain things in place, and then you let them do their thing. Right? So they torque everything. So of course, well, Disney, look at your subscriptions because, oh my God, look at her. She said, all you have to do is reduce your Disney and everything will be fine. That's not what she said. So she wasn't at the mic saying, you can thank us now, but she was at the mic trying to spike the ball a little bit, saying, you know what? Well, we planned for this and now it's happening. So I was like, see, we told you this would happen. It is happening.
Yeah.
You can trust us. So the problem is as some people, commentators were saying, she could have spread the celebration out around. She could have said, it was tougher times like this. Canadians made the choices that they needed to make in order to make better budget decisions, whatnot. And it's not easy and it's not fun like this, but we all got together and we did it. We did our part. The Bank of Canada did our part and Canadians did their part like this. And now, all of us are getting to reap the rewards rather than we planned this. And so had she done the same thing, spiked the ball, but included everybody in the effort, she probably wouldn't have left that opening.
Yeah.
Right. So, yes, there are better choices. And yes, it probably for a lot of people came across as tone deaf. I listened to it. I didn't think it was, but comms wise, there were better choices that could have been made. That is it. It is a legitimate criticism, in this case, legitimate critique. So, but hey, we'll see where PP stands on that, because now they are going to have to take a position or decide that they don't want to take a position because, once again, they don't want to tell us what they're up to.
Are they going to abstain, or like what are they going to do?
Well, I mean, that is one option, right? If he really doesn't, look, this guy, he's petulant and he seems to not like to be led by the nose somehow, like, particularly by women. And he knows that this is a Chrystia Freeland thing.
Yeah.
She's a very smart woman. She's strategic. So,
and she's not dumb. I mean, again, comms wise, there's some errors have been made, obviously.
She's not the most effective communicator. That's for sure.
No. She's not.
She's not. Right?
She's damn good at her job. She's smarter than.
Yes. Yep, indeed.
But that doesn't make you a great communicator.
I mean, and she's not a terrible communicator. I mean, she's very pointed in when something needs to be stressed. But there are things that we all have, right? People have started pointing out her, her tics, and the fact that she's fidgety, and expressions, and some ones she doesn't have much of a poker face. If somebody asks her a question that she thinks that's dumb, like you see it in her face.
Very expressive, like, oh, cut this shit out, right?
Yeah. So, and that is off-putting to some people. So, and a lot of people will, when we have satire and caricatures, well, they'll pick on something like that, right? So somebody that's fidgety, well, then they'll over-exaggerate that, right? Somebody who does this a lot. Like Dean, for example, he's always doing this thing. Like, so somebody was going to like do a satire of him like this. They'd have him, right?
Mhm.
So they try to pick on those types of things. But we'll see. Right now, there's some games. Chess pieces are being moved on the board, and we'll see what will happen. But if PP really did not want to be cornered, right? Because we ask them what are their plans. Oh, you'll find out at the election. What do you
Mhm.
think about capital gains? Well, it's like that. It doesn't exist yet. What do you think about the dental plan? It doesn't exist yet. Right? They
Now that
try to
it
get out
does.
of these things like this, but all of this is to say we're not allowed to know what they have planned for us. So now we're trying to nail them. Take a position, and we'll see.
Mm.
So we'll see what he does. If he really doesn't want to be, because he will abstain. If not, he will take a position. And we're seeing that also with his security clearance thing. So, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, he still refuses to get his NSICOP clearance. I don't know if you saw Michael Chong over the last couple of days.
Yes. We. That's what I mean. I don't know how much time do we have today. Okay.
All day, man. I'm working from home
Okay.
today.
Exactly. That's what the WFH made. Okay.
Working
So
from
yes.
home.
In that case, yes, I will. I listened to something. It was on.
I have the
I
clip.
think it was the CTV Power Play thing. I think it was. Well, okay.
I have the
Let's
clip
wait.
right here.
Okay, let's wait for that one.
Yeah, it's with Vash. It's question period. CTV question period with Vashi Capellos.
Okay, it was back with question period. Okay, because I saw him on Power Play, and I'm like listening to him and said, "Well, that's a load of bull."
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's very good at it.
He's good at it.
No, he's very good at it.
Yeah.
I was listening to it like this because it just came out so easy and everything, and he didn't stutter and he didn't stammer and all that kind of stuff. I'm thinking, it's like, if I didn't know any better, that would sound damn reasonable.
Mhm.
It's not.
It's not. No.
It's not. It's like so not.
Yeah, I listened to it and I'm like,
It's
what? I
disappointing.
had to listen to it again, and I
Right.
went, that's a
Right.
lot of bullshit.
And we're back again to the people, all the minions saying he had security clearance once, and it's like,
Not NSICOP
No.
clearance. He doesn't have his NSICOP clearance, which means he can't look at any of these documents.
Yeah.
Yes, he has clearance to be on the Hill, but so does the janitor. I mean, come on. And I'm not making fun of anybody here. I just, I'm trying to show that, to be on the Hill, you have to have clearance. Well, guess what?
Yes, a janitor needs a security clearance to be on
It's
the
true.
Hill.
You have to have secret clearance just to be able to work on Parliament Hill, period.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to have the clearance. Well, he has the same clearance. So why are they, the NSICOP clearance is a different thing. Completely different thing. And that's the thing, Carol. Is he hiding something? I question that. His ties to Modi, the IDU, Stephen Harper's ties to Modi, it's all up for debate and question. And one of the articles I read the other day was how they were saying it was the Chinese Communist Party that has done more damage than India to try and rig elections.
Mm-hmm.
And who tied us to China for 31 years again?
Again, it was the Conservative Party of Canada. Yeah.
Wasn't that the Conservative Party of Canada under Stephen Harper? And who was part of that cabinet? Oh, Pierre Poilievre.
Yep. Indeed.
Didn't Pierre Poilievre accept a free trip to, or was it Taiwan? No, Taiwan's not part. Well, let's not get into that.
Yeah.
But where was the free trip you went? Was it Shanghai or was it Taiwan? I can't remember. But he was, he said, oh, it was a gift. Oh, okay. $17,000 for him and his wife, I think it was, or something like that. A couple of years back. Not that long ago, because he hasn't been married for that many years.
Let's see. To Canadians, this was from 2018. Canadian MPs accepted $620K worth of free travel from third parties. 73 MPs, including Conservative finance critic Pierre Poilievre, accepted. And of course, there's an ad that pops up right on top of the thing that I'm reading and takes up 3/4 of the page. Accepted free pet travel worth thousands. So, yeah.
Doesn't say where, though.
Yeah, it does. Well, that was just the headline. I'm trying to scan the article for his name.
Understood. Yeah.
according to Pierre Poilievre, the conservative finance critic accepted over $21,600 worth of free travel for him and his then girlfriend, now wife, Anaida Galindo, to visit the Southeastern Asian country in January 2017. And the Southeastern Asian country is Taiwan. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so Taiwan is Taiwan, China. There's issues there. That's not. That's kind of funny because he's so heavily tied to China, or as he likes to say, Beijing.
Yes, but this was 2018.
Yeah, okay. But still, that they had already signed the FIPA agreement at that point.
Yes, they had signed the FIPA agreement, but he wasn't.
China and Taiwan are tenuous at best, right?
Yes, but this is 2018, and he ran for the leadership in 2023, right? So there's like 5 years.
Yeah.
There's still 5 years to build these relationships.
Oh yeah, of course.
Between then and now. So, and Harper originally, remember when Harper came in, he took that anti-China stance at first, and which it was kind of performative, and he did try to follow it through, but then it's like, it is an entire world, and it is China, and we do have to interact with them in some ways. And he got this complete dressing down when he finally did show up. And remember, he didn't go to the opening ceremonies of the 2008 Olympics, made a big show out of that. And then, when he finally did show up, the chairman of China, when that moment when Justin Trudeau was in that room and the chairman of China, Xi Jinping, was trying to embarrass him. And then Justin Trudeau, the chairman of China was talking at him, was like turning away and walking away. I've just talked at you and now I'm walking away and I got the cameras there and I got my moment. And just, excuse me, but no. Right. And the conservatives pointed that out as Justin Trudeau losing to Xi Jinping when really he won, because in China, when things go wrong, it's all about saving face. And Justin Trudeau did not allow the chairman to save face in that moment. Right? When Stephen Harper went to go visit China, finally when he went, he got a dressing down by the people there. That was reported back here. And he did not stop and go, whoa, I did what was in the interest of my country. Now I'm here doing what's in the interest of my country. So zip. No, he put his tail between his legs. He said yes, and then he handed over FIPA for 31 years. Yeah. Signed in Russia.
But the conservatives are supposed to be strong against that sort of thing.
Yes. And right now they're trying to paint the Prime Minister as weak on foreign interference. The Prime Minister of Canada went head-to-head with the chairman of China for over 1,000 days on the Meng Wanzhou file. And during those 1,000 days, who was it that was going to the press saying, oh, well, the Canadian Border Services never should have arrested her, just sort of let her go to the United States and let her be her problem? Conservatives. Who are the ones that, oh, it's been so long now, just let her go. It's affecting our trade. It's affecting our, they're affecting our canola and stuff like that. Just roll over and hand her back. It was the conservatives.
Rolling over to tyrants.
The conservatives wanted us to either violate our extradition agreement with the United States, our biggest partner. That would have went over well if we had done that.
You think?
Or just roll over and allow China, send them the message that, hey, whenever you want something, just kidnap one or two of our people and you'll get whatever you want. That's the message the conservatives were sending.
Oh, yeah.
The Prime Minister said no. He got punched in the teeth for over 1,000 days and did not bend. He won his election, then Joe Biden won the election, and it's like the day after Joe Biden won the election that China just gave up. Our Prime Minister outlasted the chairman of China. But they want you to believe that he's weak on foreign interference.
Yeah, it's funny.
They want you to believe that he's done nothing. But the whole reason we know about all these things is that he is the one that put together the NSICOP committee that did do that report that's letting us know what we know now. Conservatives didn't do that.
No.
So don't believe it. Don't believe the spin. Don't believe the spin. They're treating you like you're stupid. So they're coming in. You've got these people going again. You're gaslighting the gullible. You know that he has all the security clearance he needs. There's no vetting required. All he has to do is sign the non-disclosure agreement if he wants to be silent on the matter. No. Thomas Lukasik, that guy from Alberta.
Yeah.
Who used to be, Alberta PC, but he's definitely not UCP.
No. And again, he's a progressive conservative.
Yes.
Remember that.
Yes. Pierre Poilievre has security clearance for Privy Council stemming from his days in cabinet. This level of clearance is insufficient for national security reports. He must undergo proper security clearance, and naturally, info obtained is secret for life. The fact that a leader of the opposition who aspires to be Canadian Prime Minister declines on being vetted and having a security clearance is unprecedented and should trouble all of us. Why? What is he afraid of? What does he want? What doesn't he want access to factual? Why doesn't he want access to factual information? Right? He doesn't have it.
Simple.
He doesn't have it. And it's been, according to Pierre, over 9 years that he hasn't been in cabinet. So, come on. And there are big things that have changed in his life.
Oh, yes.
Since he got his security clearance 20 years ago for the first time for being on the Hill. You don't get it once and then have it for life, and it's never irrevocable. It's something that you got to keep on qualifying for. And the higher up you go, and the more sensitive the information, the more you got to qualify. Even as public servants.
Oh, yes.
My first job was just secret level that I needed, but at some point I needed confidential, and later on I needed top secret. Well, each one was a different test.
Undoubtedly.
It was a different test.
The way it goes, yeah.
It's just the way it goes. So he doesn't have it. All right, let's just be clear. He does not have it. Now,
I have the clip from Michael Chone here.
All right, let's go into that.
Because, we're right on that. So let's have a look at this.
And I might say stop a couple of times because the bullshit is neck high tonight, kids.
Okay, I'll circle back to that in a moment. I want to bring Mr. Chong into the conversation because you heard Ms. O'Connell talk about, I think what was referenced this week in testimony from both the NSIA, the National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister, and the head of CSIS, both of whom essentially said just because your leader is briefed on this intelligence does not mean that he can't act. In fact, it means he could act on that information. You had thought last week when we did an interview then that would not be the case. Why not get briefed? Why could Mr. Poilievre now not just get that information and then act on it?
Well, I think they're not correct in saying that. Here's why. What the Prime Minister is asking Mr. Poilievre to do is to essentially tie his hands behind his back, and here's why. The Prime Minister is asking Mr. Poilievre to go through the Treasury Board Secretariat's policy on government security. That's the same process that other individuals for example, on NSICOP have gone through. That process would require Mr. Poilievre to sign an undertaking and to swear an oath of secrecy, not to divulge this information to anyone else, and therefore...
I got to stop there for a second. So what?
Yes.
So what? Right. He doesn't have the information now, so he can't divulge what he doesn't know. But if he gets the information, he can't divulge it anyway. How is it
Well, number one, but right now, this looks like this. If he gets the information, he won't be able to break the law and spill the beans and destroy our intelligence secrets and services and methods and destroy the investigations that are underway, that the RCP has confirmed are underway. Why would you want that power?
Yeah, exactly.
Why would you want to go read that and then tell everyone?
Tell anybody else to act on this information to hold individuals accountable.
So hold on, stop there.
I think what was referenced
so what he is trying to suggest now, because a lot of people are saying, hey, the leader of the opposition doesn't know the names, is not supposed to know the names, because the two CPC MPs on NSICOP are not supposed to have revealed the names. They do know the names. Yes. Now, given that the Conservative Party respects nothing and no one and rules are always for thee and not for me,
Mhm.
I would bet a box of Tim Beebs that both of those two have spilled the beans and have told Pierre everything. Because
I've
they
heard
never
that from a
respect
lot
the
of
rules.
people. I've heard a lot of people say that.
Okay.
Like a lot of chatter on the Twitter and on other forms of social media,
Yeah.
along with just overhearing people chatting at the pub. Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of
Okay.
people seem to think that's the case.
So number one. So right now, he is saying, Michael Chung is trying to make you believe Pierre Poilievre could go get that information, find out who in his party is that, and quietly do things like, for example, a month from now, move someone from one position to somewhere else.
Mhm.
Not sign someone's nomination papers for next time around. Because he could do these quiet little things to get rid of the people, but he doesn't want to know. If Pierre is actually doing everything by the book, which is doubtful, I guess he wouldn't know this. But if he got his clearance and did find out, he could slowly move without going up to a microphone and saying, this person was named in the report, so therefore, look at me. Blah, blah. No, you can't do that. But you can root them out of your party with the information. But Michael Chung is trying to make you believe that if he reads that like this, he won't even be able to go to the people that are on that list to say, just you and me in this office, I know you're on this list. You got to go. Make your arrangements quietly and discreetly. I won't name your name, like this won't destroy your reputation, but you need to make plans. Michael Chung is trying to make you believe that he wouldn't even be able to do that.
And that's not true. That's simply not true. And then it's our own conjecture. Oh, that must have been the person, but we don't know. There's no proof. Let's continue.
Divulge this information to anyone else, and therefore not be able to tell anybody else to act on this information to hold individuals accountable.
Respectfully, like, am I supposed to believe you over the director of
Yes,
CSIS?
you are, because I think the director of CSIS and the RCMP may not be as knowledgeable about the processes under the Reform Act that govern party caucuses in the House
That's
of
his own
Commons
act.
and the other processes internal to parties that govern the conduct of their members and
But
caucus.
maybe they're less
and the
worried about
parliamentary-
those processes and have national security law in mind instead.
Look, just to get into the details, the leader has no authority to remove a member from caucus in the Conservative caucus. Under the Reform Act rules, that is up to the 120 or so elected members of Parliament on a secret ballot vote, and they're certainly not going to vote without information. The point, though, is this.
But what if Mr. Poilievre were to say, it's this person that I have learned has national security concerns? Nothing specific, just I'm very concerned about national security. You don't think that MPs in your party would understand what that means?
As I understand the Treasury Board Secretariat's policy on government security, Mr. Poilievre would not be able to divulge the identity of any of those individuals to anyone else, which is the same reason why the NSICOP committee is unable to divulge the names of the individuals. And so the Prime Minister is asking the leader of the Conservative Party to tie his hands behind his back, to sign an undertaking, to swear an oath of secrecy that would prohibit him from acting on that information by instructing others or telling others what happened so that action could be taken. It's not a policy that the Prime Minister himself is subject to. And that's why we're calling on the Prime Minister to publicly release the names of those parliamentarians who knowingly and wittingly assisted a foreign state to the detriment of Canada and its people.
That's a lot of bullshit.
That's a lot of bullshit.
I mean, come on. Like, the way he's carrying on there is just enough to make me want to vomit. It's like, come on, dude, you're smarter than that. Stop this shit. This is horse shit.
Yeah. Now,
people are going to believe it, though. That's the worst part.
Well, yeah. But in this one, however, I noticed when she was asking the questions, there was a lot of, well, you see, the one from 4 days ago, he was smooth, completely smooth. He is rattled there. Now, that bill that he is talking about, that's his own bill. That's the one they did, that party caucus thing, how you can get rid of MPs and whatnot. And yes, okay, the Conservatives have arranged themselves that a leader can't remove specifically. But Vashi Kapelos is absolutely correct. If the leader turned around and says, there are national security concerns. You know the report. This is the level, national security concerns. We need to take a vote. He can do that.
Oh, yes.
He can do that. Telling the caucus that there's national security concerns, doesn't say which ones, doesn't reveal sources, doesn't reveal methods. It's not going to the mic and telling the entire public.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not telling anybody anything about the report.
No. We have to have the 120 people vote. But if you discovered one of your members of parliament was in breach of law, in breach of secrecy,
yes,
you just go, yeah, we're going to vote you out. You got to go. This is like borderline treason.
Yeah. So, it's just bullshit. It's literally just bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I sent you the thing from the other day. I don't know what timestamp to start it, unfortunately, because I don't want to risk playing things on mine. Right now, things are rolling smoothly.
Yeah, no, I'll play. I'll just start it at the beginning and go from there. We'll see what we see, and that gives me a chance to go refill my mug.
Ah, wonderful.
I'm out of coffee, so I'm drinking tea this morning. It's not the same. It's not the same.
Mr. McGuinty referenced the RCMP, and we do have some breaking news for you. After multiple requests from CTV and I imagine other news outlets to the RCMP about whether or not they are investigating the idea that there could be parliamentarians acting as witting foreign agents, essentially. We have received a statement. It's quite lengthy. I just got it into my inbox, and so I'm just going to share the parts I find the most salient with you right now. You can catch the whole thing on our website, I'm sure, a little bit later this evening. The RCMP can confirm there are investigations into a broad range of foreign interference in Canada, the statement says, including matters which intersect with democratic institutions. The RCMP will not provide comment whether there is an active criminal investigation into any parliamentarians. The statement goes on to say, an RCMP confirmation of such an investigation has the potential to cause damage to reputations prior to meeting an appropriate level of proof or to interfere with an ongoing investigation. Finally, the statement says, with respect to the information contained in the NSICOP report and what the RCMP knew and did not know at the time, the RCMP is part of the national security community and works closely with partners to combat all types of national security threats. Although the RCMP did not receive information regarding all the matters contained in the report, the RCMP was aware of the broad range of work being done by partners. So no confirmation from the RCMP. They say they will not comment on whether they're investigating the specifics of what has been alleged in the NSICOP report. And of course, the government is saying the arena for doing so is with the RCMP. Let's bring in MPs now to talk about where all of this stands. With me this evening, Liberal MP Talib Noor Mohammed. Next to him, Conservative Foreign Affairs critic Michael Chong. And next to him, NDP House Leader Peter Julian. Hi to all of you. Thank you very much for making the time for the conversation. Mr. Noor Mohammed, I'll start with you. Does your government not think it's a big deal that this report alleges that there is intelligence to show that parliamentarians wittingly, quote, assisted foreign state actors soon after their election?
Well, our government takes this very seriously. We were the government that actually set up NSICOP and NSIRA, the bodies that have been doing this work. In particular, the NSICOP report was done as a result of a body that was set up by our government. So obviously, we take this seriously. What's also serious is making sure that we respect our law enforcement and our national security apparatus that are now doing the work that you've just pointed out the RCMP has mentioned. This should not be something that is politicized, should not be a political football. Every political party should be working together to ensure that we're protecting Canadian democracy and that we're ensuring that Canadians feel secure in knowing that their democracy is being protected by all parliamentarians.
I think the point of this report is to say that they don't feel so secure. Particularly, I imagine now that they've learned there could be sitting members of parliament or sitting senators who are acting on behalf of hostile actors to further their own interests against the national interest. I don't think, it requires a conviction to kick someone out of caucus. Are you aware of anyone in your caucus who is among this group of people?
I think the report speaks for itself, right? The report says there are concerns. Those concerns have been turned over to law enforcement.
The report actually doesn't specify that it's being turned over to law enforcement, just in some instances.
So in some instances. But this is the work of our national security apparatus, is the work of our intelligence agencies. They're the ones that get to decide, not us. This should not be a political game. It is not that. And I think it is essential that all parliamentarians and all parties be in the room for those conversations. You know, we're hearing conservatives say, name names. You said that at the beginning of your report. I think what is important is that the leader of the Conservative Party should get his clearance. He should be in the room to be able to be appropriately briefed, because this is a matter of national security that requires all Canadians to know that every party takes this seriously.
I understand that, and I have questions for Mr. Chong. But in what that your government has said over the past 48 hours would imbue a sense on Canadians that you are taking this seriously. Minister LeBlanc disagrees fundamentally with the overall conclusion of the report, that your government has been incredibly slow to react to the issue of foreign interference, and that has aided and abetted in the problem that exists today. He's been on this program and said, I don't come to the same conclusion. On this issue, all we keep hearing is that it's for the RCMP to investigate. We don't know if your government has actively sent this information to the RCMP, whether you're investigating it yourselves, the possibility of members of your caucus being involved. Like, we don't know any of that. Why would we think you're taking it seriously?
Fundamentally, our approach is, and I believe I would argue the approach of any government should be, to trust our law enforcement, to trust our national security apparatus to do the work that they are doing. The second the political actors start to determine what our national security apparatus is or should be doing, there's a fundamental breakdown in that trust. So our obligation as a government is to not only be responsible to empower law enforcement and the national security apparatus to do their work, but to ensure that that work remains independent. And that is what Canadians expect of government.
But the report also says that, like, the people around the Prime Minister didn't even feel it was necessary to share this kind of stuff with him. Like, why did they not feel that it was necessary to do that? And again, does this stuff happen because your government isn't taking it seriously?
So again, going back to taking it seriously, the previous government had no such apparatus or process in place for parliamentarians or others to review these types of threats to our democracy. Evidence to taking it seriously is the fact that you have NSIRA, you have NSICOP that has done this report. That is evidence and proof points that the government not only takes it seriously, but that work is done independently.
And actions, what actions?
The actions are for law enforcement and in particular the intelligence agencies to do their work. A proof point of a democratic government is one that says we are not going to interfere in the work of our intelligence agencies. We are not going to interfere in the work of police. That is how you separate, dictatorships from democracies.
Mr. Chong, is your party aware?
Well,
everything Mr. Noor Mohammed said there is true.
mm-hmm.
By the way, as an aside, remember a while ago when we talked about the MP in British Columbia who brought together people from the Jewish community and the Palestinian community and the Prime Minister together for a little summit?
Mm-hmm.
That was the guy, Mr. Noor Mohammed.
Okay.
Right. So good MP if you're in that riding, when you say vote for the best candidate, he probably
Clearly
is in that one. Everything there is true. And yes, there's two things that happen there. Vashi Kapelas very cleverly, good journalism, asked the question, are you aware of anybody in your party who's on there? And Tlaib very deftly skirted around that because that is probably something that you should not say in public.
Right. Yeah, you might find yourself in a little bit of hot water.
We are aware of people in our party. At the stage that this is at, you do those things behind closed doors quickly, quietly, and you take them out like this, but you don't do that. So he very definitely, but kudos to her for trying, because she should, that's her job.
It's her job.
And she did it. And she didn't ask the question in a very aggressive, forward way, in such a way that says, I can't answer that.
Mm-hmm.
Give us the names of the people in your party. It was like, do you know who they are? She could have asked, are you aware? Tell us, can you tell us their names? Well, that would have been clearly, But she just asked, are you aware of anybody in your party? Which is a softer version, but it's still the same question.
Yeah.
Like this, and that's how very, very clever, well stated. When she mentions about Dominique Leblanc, yes, again, and this is another one of these instances. Dominique Leblanc is correct, but it does come across as a little tone deaf.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but it is true. The point that Mr. Noor Mohammed was making at the end is that I understand why Dominique Leblanc is rejecting that, because, as he said, before the current Liberals, there was nothing.
Right.
The Conservatives asked for foreign agent registry. They didn't want to put one in place. They keep on asking that the federal government put the RRGC on the terrorist watch list. The Liberals asked them to do it when they were government. They did it. All the things that are being done now are being done by this government. The previous government didn't do anything. The previous government signed FIPA for 31 years, refused to put the RGC on the terrorist watch list, and then lost. And another government came in. There were national security concerns back then, too.
Oh, yes.
They did nothing. So the report, you have to understand now, it's an NSICOP report, right? The Liberals do not necessarily have the majority on that committee. So that the report is blaming the current government for having dragged its heels and whatnot. It's probably a little bit of partisanship that slipped itself in there.
I would think so.
Because there are things now that we only know about now because of systems and mechanisms that this current government have put in place. So therefore, logically, it is impossible that they have done nothing. Have they done enough? Have they done it fast enough for the security and intelligence services? Maybe and probably not. Because a lot of these things, you got to build buy-in. Some of these things require legislation. And every time you talk about legislation, either with regard to elections or national security, you're always going to have an opposition party that's saying, hey, they're trying to game the system to make it better. So you got to tread carefully there too. So fast enough? Maybe not. Who knows? I'm not an expert. I don't have the sense to say that. But having done nothing at all? No. That's just not true. All right. So now we move on to Michael Chong. Now, this was 4 or 5 days ago. I want you to compare and contrast because you just saw the previous one. I was having trouble getting the words out. Look how smooth and rehearsed he is this time. And you saw it in the last one when he was able to manage to get his way back to his media talking points. Then it came out smoothly but he had trouble getting there because he was off put by the questions. Because the reason he was there the second time on the Sunday is because some of the things that he said here that you are going to hear were debunked in the meantime. So what you saw in the first clip was him trying to bat cleanup for the mess he smoothly created right here. Mr. Grizzly.
Of this intelligence, have you seen any of it? And will you name names if members of your caucus are among those?
We absolutely will name names of anybody, any staffer, any campaign worker, any member of parliament.
They can. They can. We absolutely will. You can. It will be illegal, but you can. You have 2 members of NSICOP. Any one of them, either one of them, could stand up in the House of Commons at any time and abuse of their parliamentary privilege to break the law and spill the names. And there would be no consequence because they have parliamentary privilege. If there are 4 parties represented on NSICOP. There's 1 member from the NDP, 1 member from the Bloc, 2 members from the Conservatives. There are 3 senators, and I can't remember the number of Liberals off the top of my head. But I will look and get that information to you. All of these people have the information that's in that report. Any one of them could get up. The power to release the names is 100% in the hands of the Conservative Party. If they really want those names released, they would have done it. They haven't. But they're calling for it. Have you ever watched a movie, Kits and Cubs, for example, where somebody kidnaps a child? And then the next day, they say, oh my God, the child's missing. They go, oh my God, the child's missing. We need to start a neighborhood search party. Everybody follow me. We'll go this. We'll find the bastard and then we'll hang him. So everybody's looking for somebody else except for the kidnapper because it couldn't be him. Look at how invested he is in trying to find that child. That's what's going on right now.
Yeah.
If Pierre was so afraid that his name was on the list, why would he be calling for the names to be released? Because he knows that the names can't be released. So it's easy to call for something that you know will never happen. It's easy to be bold and brave then, especially if your party has no intention. By Pierre doing that, the Conservatives, while Michael Chong's sitting there going, yeah, we will, like this, they're signaling. Yes, exactly, Katsasi. Arsonists use that technique too. They set the fire and then they come and watch it, and then they start talking to the fire people. It says, oh my God, was anybody hurt? I really hope you catch the guy. They're lighting the match, they're watching it burn, and they're dancing. Trump did that when the FBI came in to search things. Hey guys, how you going? Have you got everything? Everything going smoothly? Great. Okay. And meanwhile, like they're talking about, he's got those two little minions talking about, can they find the footage in the security room? And hey, maybe let's empty the pool into the security room.
Yeah.
Maybe there we'll destroy evidence. Like, come on, people. Come on. All right. So that's bullshit. They will not release names. Because they could. If they really wanted to, they could. The Prime Minister is not the only person, and the government are not the only people who have this information. Mr. Grizzly.
That knowingly or wittingly participates to further the interests of a foreign state to the detriment of Canada. We absolutely will name that person, but we don't know because the government has this information and refuses to release it. But let's be clear, this report is damning, and it follows on the heels of the NSICOP report. It follows on the heels of the initial report of Justice Hogue at the public inquiry.
All these things that he's mentioned he follows on are all the things the Liberal government did. The Liberal government did nothing based on this report from this committee that was established by the Liberals, from this commission that was established by the Liberals. But they did nothing. And remember, again, the Foreign Interference Committee with Justice Hogue that they called for and called for and called for. And then they got what they called for. And then remember, all of a sudden, oh, well, we're not going to give any names of who we think should be leading this commission. They went limp. When it finally started to happen and started to be real, they were talking a big game because they thought that the Prime Minister would never do it. And then when the Prime Minister turned around and said, okay, fine, you want this commission? Fine, you fill the markers, you got it. I guess, give us your names of who you think. You didn't like David Johnson? Tell us who you'd like better. They did not participate. They went like a 3-year-old child in the cereal aisle grocery, and they just went limp on the floor. Going, Then they were the ones that started to delay the process. This is a set play from this party. Yell and scream, yell and scream, yell and scream. And then when the moment they actually, with the thing they yell and scream for, they said they want happens, oh, well, not like that.
But you said no, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Let's keep going.
And all of these reports are coming to the same conclusion, which is the government is not taking foreign interference threats seriously. This particular report, the NSICOP report, stated clearly that the Prime Minister was advised as far back as 2018 about serious national security threats to Parliament. He was also advised at that time that the measures in place were not sufficient to counter these threats, and he was advised to take further action. The report outlines how the clerk of the Privy Council in December 2019 went to the Prime Minister to seek approval for an action plan to protect Parliament. It then reiterates a second time where the National Security and Intelligence Advisor went again a year later in December 2020, and then a third time the initiative was taken up in February 2022. In all three cases, the Prime Minister withheld his approval. And so it's clearly an indication of a government that is not acting on taking this threat very seriously.
And I'm not absolving them of their, of the questions that should be directed to them in that vein. And I think I did direct them to Mr. Nur Mohammed. But when you said the government government is hiding this information. Today in question period, I heard the Minister of Public Safety very specifically say he would share it with the leader of your party, but the leader of your party is refusing the top secret clearance in order to access those documents. How would that make sense to any Canadian watching?
There is no, first off, criminal prosecution is not the only tool that we need to use to combat foreign interference.
I really like the way she said that.
Yes. Now, watch him right? He said criminal thing is not the only way we have. He's going to go into other things. But again, the leader doesn't want to get the clearance. So if he is following the law, the books, he would not know the names. So all these methods that he's going to talk about now, he can't put in place.
They're all moot.
If he did have his clearance and find out, he could.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
CSIS and other security agencies have long advised that sunlight and transparency is a critical tool to combating these foreign interference threat activities. And one way to do that is to publicly reveal.
I'm sorry?
He's given the face to sunlight and transparency. He almost did a Mike Pence right there.
Almost.
The names of parliamentarians that are willingly cooperating with foreign states to harm Canada and its people.
But what if they don't have proof? Like, I understand your point. That's why I asked if Mr. Noor Mohammed, but you could ruin somebody's life. You're essentially accusing them of treason. If you don't have hard evidence of that you have intelligence coming from a credible source, but it has yet to turn into the evidence that's necessary to rise to the level of the RCMP being able to prosecute, essentially, like, is that irresponsible in some way?
If they don't have evidence, if they don't have intelligence, if they don't have information, then of course it would be irresponsible. But
if they don't have evidence, if they don't have intelligence, if they don't have information, it'd be impossible. Remember what we keep on saying about intelligence, and we've been saying it for a long time now. Intelligence is not evidence.
Mm-hmm. It's just
intelligence is there's this little detail, there's this little detail, there's this little detail. I don't have anything else, but if I look at these dots, this may be possible. This also may be possible. It might also mean that. We have no evidence of that. We have intelligence. Intelligence needs to be investigated and acted upon in order to turn it into evidence. Intelligence is sometimes wrong. Intelligence is frequently wrong or misleading or leads in one direction. But then you get another piece of information which adds color and texture, and all of a sudden, oh, that's what that piece of intelligence means. So he's conflating all of them, and he's going to try to present all of this as being, this is evidence. It's not. Mr. Grizzly?
Here we go.
When you read this report, it's clear that the government has loads of information about a few parliamentarians that are engaged in this subversive activity. And those individuals need to be named so that Parliament can take action to hold them accountable. And
just to circle back where I started, I hear you on the need for transparency, but I still don't understand why the leader of your party would not want to access these documents, particularly when the report talks about efforts of India to interfere in your own party's leadership race.
So two answers to that question, very simple. Number one, if he goes through that process, he himself is not allowed to reveal the names of the individuals involved. He then would be bound by the Secrecy of Information Act and other federal acts that would preclude him from talking about it, which is why the members of NSICOP are bound by that and unable to reveal the names, even though they know who the individuals are. So that's the first reason. And the second reason is, you're right, the report highlights that the PRC interfered in both the 2020 and 2022 Conservative leadership races. It also highlights that India interfered in the 2022 leadership race. But we don't know if they interfered to the benefit of certain Conservative leadership campaign contenders or to the harm of those leadership contenders. We don't know anything about
that. Matters not a lick.
It's not important.
Completely and totally irrelevant. If it was in a federal election,
different story. One
candidate versus another, but these are all candidates within the same party. It's a party leadership race. So of course, if the government, if the government of India comes in and does something to suppress a candidate, by natural law, it elevates another. If they come in and elevate a candidate, by natural law, It suppresses another. It doesn't matter whether they came in for one or not. If they had somebody that they liked, they could have achieved it by either boosting the person they like or depressing the people they don't like. At the end of the day, it has the same effect. This is gobbledygook. So right now, he's basically saying, well, our leader wouldn't be able to reveal the names, so our leader wouldn't be able to break the law, is what they're saying. And we know they already can they already can release the names and break the law and suffer no consequence because of parliamentary privilege, the same thing that Andrew Coyne was calling for in his article. Unless someone stands up in the House. And then the second one, it's like, well, we don't know if they wanted to help one or it doesn't matter. If they had a preferred candidate in the Conservative race for the leader of the Conservative Party because they think if that person becomes Prime Minister with that particular candidate, they'll be better off. Doesn't matter if they boosted one candidate or depressed another one. It's internal to the party. Mr. Grizzly.
But don't you want to know, isn't it responsible for your leader to find out?
We want to know on the floor of the House of Commons with sunlight and transparency. That is the disinfectant, a powerful tool that CSIS has said many times that will combat a lot of foreign interference threats we're facing.
Mr. Singh was the first person yesterday really to come out and ask the government about this and
Sorry, it's like I had something, but I'm just like, I don't have anything for that one.
All right.
I was a little too why loud. They're not doing more. I have to ask on a matter as serious as this, that the government is unwilling to really come forward with transparency around the issue of parliamentarians acting as foreign agents. Does that not cast doubt on your party's willingness to keep them in that position of power, Mr. Julian?
Well, first off, Jagmeet Singh was the first to raise this issue of foreign interference. He raised it over 15 months ago, as you recall. It was the NDP that pushed first to have a motion of non-confidence in the special rapporteur that Mr. Trudeau appointed, and to get to the public inquiry into foreign interference. That was all the NDP's work. Jagmeet Singh is, if you look at paragraph 30.
Let's give credit to the Globe and Mail who put this
I'm saying
on all of
in
this,
terms of the mechanisms and in terms of the tools that were used, it was the NDP in the House that brought that about. And if you look at paragraph 36 of the NSICOP report, it very clearly flags that foreign interference has targeted Jagmeet, that there's been an attempt to diminish him.
Do you believe that to be the case?
I think it's very clear. Both Jenny Kwan, we've seen Michael Chong, and we've raised those points of privilege in the House, and I believe that to be true for Jagmeet Singh as well. So what we have is a direct impact and targeting to attack, in a sense, members of Parliament through foreign interference. What my concern is that the resources for the RCMP and the resources for the Canada Elections Act, the Elections Commissioner needs to be investigating, Mr. Chong pointed out, the issue around the Conservative leadership campaigns. If there were foreign contributions through that leadership campaign, that's a huge violation of the Canada Elections Act. It's a criminal matter, as Dean Del Mastro found out. And I am not convinced that the government has ensured that those resources are in place for a full and complete investigation, both through the RCMP and through the...
Notice Peter Julian. Everything he's saying there is true. As Dean Del Mastro found out. When they're turning around and saying the federal government did nothing, Dean Del Mastro found out. How long ago was Dean Del Mastro?
I'm not sure.
And it's still happening. Well, it's at least, right, 6 or 7 years.
I would think, yeah.
Right? The Conservative Party has literally done nothing. If that is still allowed to happen in the party leadership race, the thing that sent Dean Del Mastro to jail is still happening now. In the party leadership races. That means Dean Del Mastro got caught, went to jail, and they still didn't decide. They still decided that a cabinet member going to jail wasn't enough for them to change the processes. Let's just keep doing it that way. Oh, well, we just got caught this time, but what's the likelihood we'll get caught again? Hello? These people are dumb. All right. Keep going, Mr. Grizzly.
For a full and complete investigation, both through the RCMP and through the Canada Elections Commissioner, so that we can get to the bottom of this, and charges should be brought if guilt is determined.
Should there also not be concern about the fact that this raises the specter of actual parliamentarians, past and present, sitting among you who could be acting as foreign agents? Are you sure there are none in your caucus? And if you find out there are, will you name names?
We would, but yes, we absolutely have been the target of foreign interference. We've not been the recipient in any way.
And are you okay with the fact that the Prime Minister does not feel it necessary to reveal any of this information?
I'm not comfortable with the fact that the Prime Minister has not put into place the resources necessary for the RCMP to do that complete investigation, and for the Elections Commissioner.
That's not an answer to my question. Are you okay with the Prime Minister not revealing anything in addition?
We believe that names should be released when it's appropriate. We believe that the charges should be brought, and we believe if convicted, members of Parliament who have been convicted of those crimes, whether treason or whether it's violations of the Canada Elections Act, should not be sitting in Parliament.
And Mr. Singh said he's going to get a classified briefing when?
I believe it's this week, and there again, we have a political leader who has gone through the security clearance. I don't understand why Mr. Poilievre has not gotten the appropriate security clearance on this. This is a matter of utmost importance. It should be a priority for him.
But it's not enough to pressure the government to actually make any of this public. You're okay with what they've said so far?
No, I just said the contrary, that I don't think the government has been strong enough in its response, and particularly in terms of resources to get to the bottom of a full investigation, both for the Elections Commissioner and also for the RCMP. We're very critical of the government not acting the way it should, and we were last year, and that led to the Commission of Inquiry. Without the NDP,
I have just a minute left. I want to go really quickly between all three.
So again, this is what I'm saying now. This is the little bit of the partisan element, right? So when we look at the NSICOP committee, there are 4 Liberal MPs, 1 Bloc MP, 1 NDP MP, and 2 Conservative MPs. All right? So the Liberals have 4, Conservatives 2, Bloc 1, NDP 1, and then there are 3 senators, 2 from the Independent Senators group and 1 from the Progressive Senate group. Right? So that makes 11 members. Yes. The government does not have the majority. It has 4 seats out of the 11. Because the government has no senators. Right? There are still 13 Conservative Party of Canada senators in the Senate, but the Liberal Party has no Liberal Party senators in the Senate anymore. So, and then you get Peter Julian. He's asked specifically, would you name names? Now, Peter Julian seems to be able to say that they were the targets, but not the beneficiaries of foreign interference, with a rather definitive tone. So that would lead me to believe that Mr. Don Davies, who's the New Democrat member on the NSICOP committee, saw the information and reported back what it is that he could to his party without breaking the law. So I've seen the report. There is some stuff of foreign interference. We've been the targets. Doesn't seem we've been the beneficiaries. That's something that can be made public, because we know it could be made public because we have information that the Conservative Party may have been beneficiaries in their leadership. That's a level of information that can be made public if you see the information. So when Michael Chong is there saying, well, we can't say anything. Yeah, you can. Because Peter Julian, who's not even on the committee, just did. How did he get that information? Well, it has to be the person on the NSICOP committee.
Revealed it.
Related it back. What it is that they legally could. So Michael Chong, again, is FOS.
Oh, yes.
All right. Mr. Grizzly.
Mr. Nur Mohammed, do you know if the RCMP is investigating any of these specific things? Do you think Canadians will ever get answers?
Well, I want to just address a couple of things here. First of all, Mr. Chong said there is information, there is intelligence. Information is not intelligence. Intelligence is not evidence. The threshold of intelligence is one that must be met. And as Mr. Julian points out, if somebody is convicted, if the charges are brought and somebody is convicted, obviously that is a different threshold than just saying,
I like this guy.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I wanted to. Yeah, he's really good.
Intelligence is not evidence. Like we've been saying that. He just said it.
Exactly. Well, all our security apparatus has been saying it too, but the Conservatives keep on wanting to pump the alternative narrative, the alternative facts into our system. Um, the, now, in the previous thing, the thing I forgot to mention is that Vashi Kapelas asked them if they were okay with the government not releasing names. And you see how the NDP did not want to say that they were okay. But they were saying, in time after the investigations, after due process is maintained and, we're not destroying sources and methods and like this, and we actually have the evidence. Yeah. So in other words, yes, they are okay with the federal government not releasing the names now. And I do not understand for the life of me why it is that the NDP would not be clear on that, on this particular issue. At the same point that Peter Julian is making the case, Dad, this is a national security thing. You have to do it like this. Well, then be clear. Yes. In this case, you do support the government because there are issues of process and you need to let the process run its course. The wheels of justice grind infinitely slow, but infinitely fine. There are certain things that only time can do. You do not get justice on demand.
No, it doesn't work that way.
In Canada.
It can't work that way in order for us to have, a fair and just system. And I know that sometimes it's not fair. And sometimes it's not just, and I get that, especially if you're wealthy and powerful. But the system is designed a certain way, and it doesn't happen in an instant. It's not on demand.
Exactly. And then Mr. Cal, name names and then pay a massive price in lawsuits after the intel was wrong. Omar Kader?
Yeah.
Anyone?
Mayor
Anyone?
Yeah.
$10 million suit? Anyone? Does anyone remember?
And everybody tries to blame Trudeau for that. And I'm like, no.
No, he saved us money.
He saved us a lot of money because that young man's rights were violated. His charter rights that,
3 ways from Sunday.
Yeah. And our government did nothing to do anything for him at the time. They didn't lift a finger. They let it happen.
It was an open and shut case.
Yeah.
It was basically, if they got into court, it's like, well, a check? How much do you want us to write it for?
Yeah. So the $10 million payout saved us probably $40 million.
Who knows?
If not more. We don't know.
Plus legal fees?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So you got Peter Julian sitting there like this, not willing to say yes. That's a little bit of partisanship there. And say and instead of saying yes, saying, well, no, the government didn't act fast enough and didn't do enough. So, of course, the NDP, it would be to their partisan advantage to take that position and make sure that that was in the report. So it would be for the Bloc. So it would be for the other two. Again, we know about all of this because of the mechanisms the government put in place. Mr. Grizzly.
Here we go.
We think we might know something about someone. So I think we can't be flippant about this. And I think we can't be flippant with national security because when we are making national security decisions, we are depending on our methods and sources, that we don't want to compromise those, that we don't want to compromise our intelligence partnerships with other countries. And so it is essential that the RCMP and others do their work. And if they bring charges, if those charges are brought forward and there's convictions, absolutely,
told me
there are consequences.
Face to face a few months ago, that the ability to turn that intelligence into evidence is a massive challenge for which they were hoping for a legislative solution. In the new legislation your government introduced around foreign interference, they saw nothing that would help them do that. Once again, it seems like your government doesn't think this is a big deal.
Well, C-70 is currently under debate. We've got opportunity for all parliamentarians to work together, and it seems like that is something that people want to do to ensure that this is the best possible version of the legislation. And we have said since the beginning we will be willing to work with other parties to ensure that it is the best possible national security regime to keep this country safe.
Mr. Chong, really quick final word to you. I think both your colleagues continue to highlight they don't understand, and I think a lot of Canadians would agree, why your leader can't get the briefing, understand it to the fullest, conduct the investigations necessary, particularly when there may be people in your caucus who are guilty of this, and then figure out what happens publicly after.
Well, quite simply, if you go through the security process, the security assessment process that the government has been indicating that it would provide to Mr. Poilievre, he would be forbidden, like the existing members of NSICOP, from talking to anybody else about who those individuals are.
Well, he just can't name names, but he can still talk about the issue writ large,
No,
as Mr. Singh did with foreign interference when he got the earlier briefing.
You'll notice that the members of NSICOP are not talking about the identity of the individuals. And
but
so
they can talk about
if
the other stuff.
they are bound by the law And that's why we believe that the place for this to be acted upon
This
is
is
on
a
the
whopper
floor of the
comment.
House and its committees, where Section 18.
I'm sorry?
So go back. I was going to say, here's the big whopper.
Talk about
If
the other stuff.
they are bound by the law, and that's why we believe that the place for this to be acted upon is on the floor of the House and its committees, where Section 18 of the Constitution takes hold, where Parliament has its rights, privileges, and immunities that allow the Prime Minister to reveal this information to the Leader of the Opposition and to other members of Parliament so action can be taken. That's the way our system's supposed to work. We are to have accountability on this through the legislative branch of government, not exclusively through criminal prosecution. But that's something this government doesn't respect.
I get that, but you also have available the option to get the information and investigate your own party, and you're not going to take that.
But then Mr. Poilievre would not even be able to pick up the phone to say this individual is the individual in question. You need to take action against this individual. That's why we don't. Okay. That's why he is not willing to go through that process.
Pierre would not be able to call somebody else and say, this information, you take care of him. But Pierre would be able to take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
See how he's deflecting?
Mm-hmm.
Pierre wouldn't be able to call somebody to tell, but Pierre would be able to do the job himself. He would be able to do the job himself. And this guy is literally just said that the way this should work is that you go to Parliament. And he talked about he mentioned the exact clause, section that allows you to have parliamentary privilege, to basically give yourself immunity from criminal prosecution for what it is you are going to say, but then spins it as if it is only the Prime Minister who has that information, or if other people than the Prime Minister have that information, it is only incumbent upon the Prime Minister to release that information. There are 338 MPs. All of them are equal. The Prime Minister is first among equals, but all of them are equal. Any single one of them who has the information has the ability to do it. And he's saying that if you have that, he's basically saying, if you have that information, it is your duty to stand up in Parliament, abuse of your parliamentary privilege, break the law with immunity, and release those names, blow up sources and methods, blow up investigations.
Yeah.
They have the information. They could do it, but they don't want to. They want the Prime Minister to do it.
Funny how that works out, huh?
They're calling on the Prime Minister to break the law, implode our national security, implode our intelligence, and create a whole bunch of reasons that if there ever would be prosecution, for the lawyers to say, well, this happened, due process was violated, constitutional, it's like, we can't try this, or you can't find him guilty. They're trying. We don't have pardons in Canada, but what the Conservatives are calling for is for the federal government to do something that will allow them to get off on a technicality.
There is a pardon system in Canada.
A pardon, yes, but
I know people who've been
not a prime ministerial pardon.
No.
System.
No.
Like
it's you have to go through the
so if you can't rely on going to court and having a pardon in that sense, in the United States sense, from the president, then the only other option is to try to get somebody to do something that will create the situation where you can't be convicted on a technicality. He's basically asking the Prime Minister to give any member of the Conservative Party of Canada who would be on that list a get out of jail free and an immunity from prosecution card by blowing up. It is wholly irresponsible.
Oh, yes.
And he's telling people that this is the way it should be done. And that the Prime Minister is the only person who could do it, and the Prime Minister is the one who should. That is some of the most dangerous. That would be the most reckless way to go about it. Not to mention our partnerships with our Five Eyes partners that would all
that would be the end of
go to hell if we did that.
Yeah. Thank
you for mentioning that, Kit Carroll. It's bull. It's bull. And the C-70 thing that Mr. Nur Mohammed was talking about, it's true. So while it may be true that Peter Julian said that everybody didn't have the means to do that, they're working on a bill right now. And remember last week or the week before when I said, what is it with the Conservatives that are all of a sudden being all conciliatory on the anti-scab legislation? The other piece of legislation that the Conservatives said that they were going to help pass through quickly, and that they were actually going to take some certain actions to make sure it could pass even more quickly, is C70.
Mm-hmm.
This particular bill right now that Mr. Mohammed has said accurately, all parties are really participating in to try to get, including the Conservatives, who never cooperate on anything. So clearly what's going on in committee for C70 is not controversial in any way, shape, or form, nor are there major disagreements because they're all working together. They're all playing nice together, and they never play nice. So Michael Chong came in there with a backhoe of bullshit, and that's why you got that second interview.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. Oh, God. I don't know if there's much left, but...
about a minute. Just play it through.
Process, because it binds him to... prevents him from from revealing the identity of this individual and taking to action. That's why we're asking the Prime Minister to come clean about this on the floor of the House of Commons or in one of its committees.
Mr. Julian, does Mr. Chong have a point that essentially Mr. Poilievre couldn't take these names and have them be investigated?
He can't walk to a podium and do a press conference, but he would be much better informed about what the size and scope of the issue is in NSICOP.
But he would know if his own MPs are among them, and would he be limited from investigating them?
He would not be limited in next steps. I mean, this is something that would make him better informed about the issue as a whole. And I think that's why Jagmeet Singh stepped up last year to ensure that he had full security clearance so he would be better informed. He was asking questions in the House today. That didn't stop him from asking questions, from pressing the government. So I don't understand Mr. Poilievre's...
But not really going that far to press them because they're not acquiescing on anything.
I don't understand where Mr. Poilievre is coming from because the Conservative position just doesn't seem to make sense.
I have to leave it on that note. Thank you very much, all three of you, for the discussion. I appreciate it. Talib Noor Mohammed, Michael Chong, and Peter Julian.
There you go. So in that last response from Michael Chong, Peter Julian was like, nope. Patrick Cabela's caught that. And was like, okay, well, I had one last question from Mr. Chong, but hey, I'm watching your body language here. What do you got to say, dude?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Conservative position makes no sense. It's messy. The logic is messy. The thought process is messy. The way they interpret the law is messy. It's all messy. But if you remove all the noise, the basic situation is we're talking about potential treason, and the guy that wants to be the Prime Minister of Canada can't even be bothered, even for this issue, to get off his lazy duff and sit for security clearance so that he can be the most informed possible about what is going on, so that he can participate in the Team Canada effort with full information to try and fix this and be aware of who it is in his party that has been influenced and take care of them. So if you're refusing to do all that, what is more likely? That you really care about the issue and that if you become Prime Minister of Canada, you would do everything to stand up for this country? Two, or the current situation sits you quite fine because you're benefiting greatly from it? Normal people do not want to know information when it's potential treason. All of us are going, who is it?
Yeah.
Even I would like to know today, and I would like the people that who did it be gone yesterday.
Mm-hmm. It's not it's
but
not out of the
you
realm
can't
of reality.
always get what you want. There is process. They want to skip the process. If something bad is happening to your country and you sincerely want to resolve it, immediately trying to find ways to go against, around, or create new process rather than running with the one you have and making adjustments along the way if needed, is a symbol, it's a sign, it's a signal, it's a tell that you do not want to solve the problem. If you cannot be moved enough to go get your security clearance, when we're talking about calls coming from inside the House, witting and semi-witting participants in foreign interference, do not stand in front of a podium at a campaign rally and say that you are going to defend us as a nation. You are not. You're not doing it now. You're not doing the bare minimum. He is not a serious leader. And you do not submit to a test you already know you can't pass. The Law and Order Party, the leader of the alleged Law and Order Party, does not want to be equipped to have the most information possible to act on the largest crime, the worst crime that can happen in terms of domestic politics, treason. The worst thing you could say about a person socially is that they're a pedophile. The worst thing you can say about someone politically is that they are a traitor.
Mm-hmm.
It is the worst.
Oh, yes.
There is nothing worse. I've seen this guy get worked up for a whole bunch of stuff. We've all seen him. Everything is the worst thing ever. Everything's a scandal. We actually have a real scandal. Oh. This is not consistent behavior.
No.
Normal people don't want to be in the dark when they know that there's a threat. They want to know where it's coming from so they can prepare.
See, it all...
Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives are not normal. This is not normal.
It makes me... Look, we don't have any evidence to suggest... Let me rephrase that. You and I have not seen, nor has the vast public seen, evidence to suggest that he is compromised and that he worked directly with India on this.
We know nothing.
We know nothing. But if you're doing a paint by numbers...
That's what I'm saying. The circumstantial evidence is damning. Which party gave a 31-year deal to China?
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Which party asked for us to roll over on Meng Wanzhou? Which party asked for us to violate our extradition agreement with the United States on Meng Wanzhou?
The numbers are all starting to...
Which party has the closest links to India?
Mm-hmm.
Which former leader of a federal party is BFFs?
In the IDU.
With the leader of India. Like this. The leader of which party did the government of India try to put out a press release out saying that their official plane was loaded with cocaine?
Yeah, and then the National Post repeated that blatant lie.
And so did the Toronto Sun. Yeah. The newspapers that support which party ran that story.
Yeah, knowing that it was a load of bullshit.
In the NSICOP report, there is a little part that talks about certain media even having been compromised.
Yes.
Gee, could it possibly be the media that would take a press release from the government of India suggesting that the Prime Minister's plane was full of cocaine when we know that nobody can get within 3 inches of that plane, within 30 feet of that plane when it's over there because it's all guarded by Canadian security? And right, could it possibly be that in those medias there's somebody that may have been compromised?
I mean, it sounds like a conspiracy theory, except it's not a conspiracy theory when the paint by numbers gives you Tom Thompson's Jack Pine. It's like, this is ridiculous.
We got a leader of the opposition that is not even motivated enough by treason to go get a security clearance.
It's just absurd. It's completely... I couldn't make this up. It's astonishing to me that all of the dirty things that they're pulling and planning and doing and the lies that they have spewed upon us. It's like, God, you're not good at this. Like you're not good at it. You're really bad at it, because it's so easy for us to just go, well, look, it's right. All the evidence is right in front of us. It's all right there. It's all going to come out eventually, right?
There are no instance. I cannot think of an instance where if the government, the Communist Party of China, has to choose between a conservative and a liberal over the past 20 years, that we've seen that liberals are better for them. Now, liberals were more open to wanting to do trade with China. And, that whole theory that we had for a while that, if we liberalize trade with China, then eventually the human rights will come. Mm-hmm. Well, it seems that we were wrong about that, but the entire Western world was wrong about that. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Nixon went to China, so did Trudeau, and then we tried for Trudeau father, and then we tried for many years and decades and whatnot until we realized, when the thing with Hong Kong happened, where China gave the word and said, yeah, we won't do this for X number of years. And it was like, oh yeah, for 50 years or something like that. Oh, well, 20 years, that's enough. It's ours now. Mm-hmm. That kind of sent a signal.
You think?
To the entire world. Yeah, we know that you told the entire world that we were going to do this and like this, but you know what? Yeah, we've decided we waited long enough. We're just going to take this now. What you going to do about it?
Yeah.
We're frickin' China.
What are you going to do?
F you, make me. When China took over Hong Kong, they basically said to the world, fuck you, make me.
Yeah.
And nobody made them.
And that was in what?
We clutched pearls. We got, like this, but we didn't do it.
1997, the handover took place?
Yeah. But the whole thing with taking over Hong Kong, what they did now, because now Hong Kong really is fully China. I mean, they took over the city council and everything. They destroyed everything.
Mm-hmm. There's supposed to be.
We had the huge protests for a long time.
It's still called the Special Administrative Region, but it's not.
There's nothing special about it anymore.
No, it's China. Hong Kong used to be its own place, but no, not anymore.
So look at the way that our Prime Minister and the Chairman of China have been interacting for the past night. And come and tell me that there exists a realm, a galaxy, a universe in which the Communist Party of China would rather that Justin Trudeau win the next election. And in India, where the Prime Minister spilled the beans, and now there's this international thing, and all the Five Eyes nations are wary of India. And well, yes, we may be Five Eyes, but we have a lot of friends.
Yeah.
So if we don't like them, they're certainly asking questions. That's not great for India. There's a reason why Modi went into that election chin up, ass out, saying we're going to get 340 something seats of the 500 and something all to our own. He didn't even get a majority of the seats onto his own. His bloc did, but he didn't. All of a sudden, he went from king shit who can do anything he wants now, having collaborate with other parties. And I wouldn't be surprised, because when these types of things happen, when you go in and say, you know what, we're going to get major super majority, and you flop like that, even though you won, you're kind of lost in that case. And usually not too long after that, there starts to be some grumblings. The leader promised us all this, and well, I mean, yes, we're still the government, but we're not as much as the government as we wanted. We don't have our majority. Maybe he's not the guy anymore. Maybe he's slipping.
Who knows? Could be.
Those are you. Listen, in politics, in a party, everybody are friends and get along when they're winning. It's when you start to lose power and influence and seats. Look at Paul Martin.
Mm-hmm.
He won that election, but he won a minority. And then the infighting started. You called the Gomery Commission. You shouldn't have done that. That's what really sunk us. Had he won another majority, though, you would have heard nobody complaining about that. Everybody's friends when the sun is out and they're winning. Everybody. So, Mr. Grizzly, we're talking about witting and semi-witting participants. And there's been some things happening in Europe. We had the European parliamentary elections happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 4 days of voting, and the results seem to have come in. And the results are not good. There is a major shift to the right.
Yes, and it's disturbing.
In Europe.
Well,
A huge shift to the right.
I've got a story here written on June 9th. It's the table is being set for another world war. The EU election results will hasten us to the slaughter.
Yes. Yeah.
And
So-
you know, it's to protect the elitists.
Yeah, and I would want you to read from it if you can at some point, but I'll just give the details of the thing. So hundreds of millions of eligible voters in 27 countries marked their ballots in the European parliamentary elections. The far right won a lot of seats in the European Parliament. Major blows were delivered to the leaders of Germany and France. Not so much bigger blows to Austria and Spain, but Austria and Spain were also took a step towards the right. In France, the outcome was so bad that it has led to the dissolution of the National Assembly. President Emmanuel Macron has called a snap election in France after the governing party suffered heavy losses to Marine Le Pen's Front National. Not great. Germany's Social Democrats, led by Olaf Scholz, had its worst result ever, overtaken by the center-right, far-right Alternative für Deutschland, AfD party. And if that rings a bell to you, it should, because AfD is the party of Miss Christine Anderson, who was here
For the Nazi branch.
on tour and had some munch time with 3 conservative MPs. That has never been officially denounced by the party. So the AfD came in second place, second to the Christian Democrats. The Social Democrats didn't finish first or second. That's the party of the current leader, Olaf Scholz. Seems that young Germans have swung to the right, and pretty much 5 years ago when we had the election in the European Parliament, it was a Green Wave election. The Green Party, just 5 years later, had almost all the gains of 5 years ago wiped out. That's not going to be good for the planet.
No.
Exit polls showed late last night that the Arch-Conservative Brothers of Italy party, headed by Italian President Giorgia Meloni, was in the lead there. So this shift to the right is going to make it tougher to pass environmental laws and probably also to oppose Putin. The centrist right coalition is expected to hold majority power. So even though the far right parties have increased, the centrist right still has the majority. So not as far right, but still to the right. And the parliament's going to have to pick a new EU commissioner. The current one is Ursula von der Leyen, who will be a candidate, but she might have to lean on support for the hard right if she intends to win again. Now, in her the post-election speech, she sort of said something that we're going to stand against the extreme on the left and the extreme on the right, focusing on the center part of the center-right coalition. So maybe she will make some. Maybe there will be people on the center left that will be willing to work with a center-right coalition in order to prevent a far-right group from or far-right collective in the European Parliament from having more visibility and power.
Mm-hmm.
If I was a center-left, I really would. What's the alternative, right? Let's work with the center-rights, and yes, okay, we'll get stuff that's a little more to the right than we like, but if we don't work, if the center right starts working with the far right, we get stuff that's even more far right. Then, yeah, let's be a tempering force. Strategically, that would probably be a good decision to make. So we have this situation with the European Parliament. We are shifting to the right globally. Many other countries have done so. And the thing with the AFD is, for a while, they were first, or it looked like they were going to be first, and they've slipped
Quite a bit.
over the last little bit, even though they finished second. And there's a reason that they've slipped. I was reading some stuff over the course of the weekend, and then all of a sudden it's like, ooh, dots. Let's connect them. So I wrote a little thread to Sarah Fisher and Pierre Poilievre. Dear Sarah Fisher and Pierre Poilievre. Whoops, sorry, this is not good. There we go, that works better. Dear Sarah Fisher and Pierre Poilievre, when your colleagues dined with Christine Anderson of the Alternative for Deutschland, nobody from your party officially denounced it, repudiated it, and there were zero consequences for the 3 MPs seemingly devoid of discernment. Nothing appeared on party social media or websites. On the leader's social media or website, there is nothing on the party or the leader's letterhead, as well as no audio or video from the party, the leader, Miss Fisher, the leader's media manager, or any MP, senator, or official. Since then, there has been much more scandal with the AFD, leading to massive protests in Germany against the party, and calls for it to be investigated by authorities or outright banned. And Mr. Grizzly, I'm going to share some images over here. Since mid-January 2024, widespread protests against the far-right Alternative for Germany party have been taking place in Germany, after a report by investigative journalist group Corrective revealed the presence of an in-office party members at the meeting of right-wing extremists at Potsdam in 2023, centered on remigration proposals to organize mass deportations of foreign-born Germans, including those with German citizenship. Protesters have sought, as declared by organizers, to defend the German democracy from the AFD, with many protesters calling for the party to be investigated by the Federal Office for the Protection of the Constitution or banned altogether.
Wow.
And this is Berlin on, I believe, January 14th, 2024. Mr. Grizzly, got some images up there for you.
Just a second, sir.
There we go, the Brandenburg Gate. That's a lot of people. This is Hamburg, January 19th. This is
People are
Stuttgart, January 20th. That's a lot of people that are upset. Each of those protests would have been an ideal moment for the party to admit that this meeting here, for people listening at home, it's all the people at Nazi brunch sitting around the table looking at the camera and smiling because they're all having a great time because they got like an actual authentic Nazi from Germany in the room. So I guess their nipples were all hard.
It certainly seems like it.
Instead of admitting that this party, seeing those protests in January and going, oh my God, this is what's happening to the AFD. It's like, oh, it's like, when we met them, now we're going to repudiate them. But no, you didn't. Instead, you were all stricken with a sudden acute case of convenient mutism, just like you were by the NSICOP report this last week, when all of you just disappeared from the planet for about like 36 hours before you came up with your strategy. In late May, the Alternative for Deutschland was booted out of a coalition by its partners. The far-right collective said, whoa, UAFD, the F for AFD stands for freak.
Yeah.
Y'all a bunch of freak shows. You can't sit with us. The far-right coalition
said you're too much.
You're too much for us.
Yeah.
Why were they booted? Well, after their top candidate, Maximilian Krah, made controversial comments about Nazi SS soldiers in the Italian newspaper La Repubblica. Krah stepped down from the AfD's Federal Executive Board with immediate effect. From CNN, a far-right coalition of parties in the European Parliament has expelled Germany's Alternative for Germany party following their leading candidate's comments about Nazi SS soldiers during World War II. Quote, "The Bureau of the Identity and Democracy Group in the European Parliament has decided today to exclude the German delegation AfD with immediate effect," said the coalition, called the Bureau of the Identity and Democracy Group, or ID Group, in a statement on Thursday. Quote, "The ID Group no longer wants to be associated with the incidents involving Maximilian Krah, head of the AfD list for the European elections," it said. Again, another golden opportunity served up on a silver platter to finally publicly denounce Anderson. The AfD expressed regret for making time for her and imposing sanction on the 3 MPs who displayed a horrible lack of judgment. But she did and said nothing. Now, there's a proverb in French that goes, "Qui ne dit mot consent." Crudely translated, those who say not a word consent.
Yeah.
Your silence long ago looked like tacit approval of the AfD's objectives. Now it's looking like complicity. In May, a court in Munster ruled that there was reason to believe that, quote, "at least a significant part of the AfD aimed to, quote, grant German citizens with a migration background only a legal devalued status." All these protests that we see going on right now, Palestinian protests, whatnot, what's the sort of line that's going out there? Oh, all those students are here, send them back. If there are any people here that have got permanent residency statuses but haven't been Canadian citizens yet, and they're participating in these protests, round them up and send them back. Same language.
Yeah. Same
language. And tacit approval or complicity to achieve this end is not something any Canadian political party should be providing. But still, radio silence from everyone in the CPC with regard to sharing a meal with extremists. From the newspaper article again. In other words, the court suspects large parts of the AfD of wanting to create a 2-tier society where people judged to be, quote, ethnically German would have more rights than people whose families originally came from abroad. Does this rhetoric sound familiar from what we're hearing from the conservative movement in Canada?
Mm-hmm.
This, according to the German constitution, would be illegal discrimination. Ours too.
Yeah, ours too.
More disturbing yet, the AfD is now marred by accusations of collaboration with both China and the Kremlin.
Wow.
Given our foreign interference issues, as noted in the NSICOP report, did your 3 MPs break bread with Anderson to coordinate on helping our adversaries? Was that the point of that brunch? Because you're close to China, because you did the FIPA thing, and we know that you're close to the Kremlin because you tried to sabotage the free trade deal with Ukraine.
Yeah.
So is the AfD. And you all had brunch with her. And then she came back.
To connect the dots on this is paint by numbers. The picture's being painted right in front of our very eyes. It really is. It's just...
It's that piece of information that in court, this is a court decision that they've been found to be...
I know. It's crazy, right?
From the article, the AfD has been slipping recently in the polls from the low 20s earlier this year to around 16% after the protests and stuff. This is possibly partly because of mass anti-AfD protests across the country, after it was revealed that party officials had attended a secret meeting where the deportation of people with non-German heritage was discussed. A number of scandals over alleged spying for China and suspected links to Kremlin have also dented support. Sorry, I was mistaken. That part was not in court. But again, let me repeat. A number of scandals over alleged spying for China and suspected links to the Kremlin have also dented support for the AfD.
This is all...
So were you meeting to discuss similar strategies here, and or perhaps your meeting or that brunch was to discuss strategies to deport people of non-Canadian descent, or perhaps prevent them from holding seats in Parliament, as one of your most notable independent media acolytes is suggesting should be done? And this is the one that set me off yesterday, which made me think about this, because crybaby Caillou, or in this case I will say Nazi Caillou, put out this little gem, Mr. Grizzly. So you have David McGuinty, who is the chair of the NSICOP committee. Like this, he was interviewed. This is from CPAC. It says it's up to the RCMP to decide on the basis of any intelligence or evidence they may have in their possession whether they are going to take steps or not, said Liberal MP and NSICOP chair David McGuinty of the report that some MPs wittingly aided foreign interference. And Kean said, "How much do you want to believe that the MPs who conspired with the foreign government to betray Canada are immigrants from that very nation? When I am shown to be right," he has never been shown to be right once.
About anything.
It should be made illegal for a foreign-born individuals to sit in government.
Wow.
This is a noted Conservative Party of Canada minion. It should be made illegal for our foreign-born individuals to sit in government. What is it that I've just been talking about creating two different tiers of citizenship, which is constitutionally illegal? Look who's calling for it.
Yeah, not a big surprise. Like, it really isn't a big surprise. I expect it from him especially, right?
You have been silent so far for too long, and you have whistled past every opportunity for Pierre Poilievre to come to a camera and a microphone, unequivocally reject Anderson and the AFD, and sanction Colin Carey, Leslyn Lewis, and Dean Allison, the three who showed up for the brunch. And two of those three MPs seem rather touchy about being asked about it, because, well, let's see what happened to us when we asked inconvenient questions. Yeah. Just asking very pointed questions of them with no abuse/threats, as we are doing here, was enough to get us blocked, something MPs should not be doing unless there is abuse or threats.
Correct.
There are two people here who are just so sensitive.
Well, and remember when former mayor of Ottawa, Big Jim, he blocked people on his Twitter account because he didn't like the questions they were asking him. And then they went to court to sue him. And he realized, because this is a public account, it's his mayor's account. He also puts personal stuff in there too, but it was an official account. He's like, as a member of civic government, the mayor, he is not allowed to do that. You can't just silence people. You can't silence your critics, is what it boils down to. So he said, that I erred and I made a mistake, and he apologized, and then he turned around and opened it up, and he says, everybody is now unblocked. He goes, because you know what? When you're in public office, you're going to get public scrutiny. Now,
you're going to get people that are upset. You're going to get people that goes, "Oh, come on, you nitwit," or "your job," and it's like this, and that's going to come with the territory. You should an insult. I do it. So,
yeah.
But threats, swearing, abuse, it's not acceptable. But if you're not engaged in those things, if you're just very, very, very angry or upset, and you're letting people know and you're giving them an earful, that should not get you blocked.
No, should not. If I say something that runs counter to your narrative, you should not block me. Maybe you should engage with me. Why did you say that? Well, because what you said is a complete and utter fabrication. Like, I engage with people when I see them lying blatantly and say, that's a lie, and here's the proof that it's a lie, and then they block me.
Yeah. So, Nazi brunch happened in March 2023. It has been greater than 1 year and a quarter since the Conservative Party of Canada hitched its wagon to the AFD officially. Canadians now demand that you take an official stand. The question of the day is, When will the Conservative Party of Canada leader Pierre Poilievre call a press conference to denounce Anderson, the AFD, and sanction the 3 MPs who thought it was wise to dine with her? All we need is a date.
Mm-hmm.
Just the date. Only the date. Just the date, please. Just a number.
I'd like
On
the
what
number,
day?
please. Can I have the number? I want the number, please. Just the number. Give us a number.
The longer you wait, the worse it will be. Tick-tock for the muckers.
Mm-hmm.
Tick-tock. I'm not impressed. I am not impressed. So, when that report talks about witting or semi-witting participants, Mr. Grizzly, if you will put the image up.
Mm-hmm.
Is this what that means?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Happily hosting a extreme somebody so far right that the coalition they were in kicked them out.
Beep, beep. You have some explaining to do.
Mm-hmm.
And no, you don't get to play with the band.
No.
I just want to be Prime Minister. Yeah.
I'm running for Prime Minister. Actually, that's not something that you do in this country. I'd like more citizens to understand that. We don't elect a Prime Minister, we elect a Parliament. And the leader of that party can ascend to the position of Prime Minister, but they can defer it to their deputy.
Now, you have all these dots. I didn't go somewhere wild. I didn't go somewhere crazy. I didn't take, well, there's this thing, and then rent a guide in a backpack for a 3-day trek in the woods to come up with some. These are literally. There's a party for whom there are scandals that they are spying for China and have links to the Kremlin. You had 3 MPs dine with that person. Since then, there have been protests, mass protests in Germany against that party. That party has been booted from its coalition by its partners, whatnot. And still, you don't look at all of that and say, hey, maybe it's time to fix that mess.
Mm-hmm.
All we have in the public domain with regard to that is a statement that allegedly comes from Pierre Poilievre that was delivered to us by Brian Lilly.
Allegedly.
Brian Lilly could have just written that himself and said, you know what,
We have
the
no
world is- conservatives are screwing up. I need to save them here.
We have
I'm
no
going
way
to
of
claim
knowing.
that this was said. There is nothing on party website, party letterhead,
Mm-hmm. He didn't
on
tweet
any
anything.
party's
Nothing.
social media, on his personal social media. There's no audio, there's no video
Nothing.
of anybody from that party saying that they denounced that, but they want you to believe. Now, if they're going through all that effort to make sure that that nobody that would vote for the Conservative Party of Canada, particularly the far-right PPC faction, that they still want to vote for them, if there's nothing in existence anywhere that anybody can find to say that they've denounced her,
Mm-hmm.
that takes an incredible amount of discipline to accomplish.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
That doesn't happen by accident, that there just happens to be nothing for people to find. Why would the Conservative Party of Canada work so hard to make sure that anybody whose votes they depend on, who really likes the AFD here in Canada and thinks we should go that way, can find nothing from the Conservative Party denouncing the AFD? I think we know why.
Yeah, I got a pretty
There's not 70,000 explanations.
pretty good suspicion, you know.
I don't have to make big leaps. These are things that are in the public domain. These are things that happen. There have been court cases. There have been protests. It's been caught on video. It's on camera. These things have happened. We don't have all the intricate details and whatnot, but we'll say, gee, that happened, that happened. Well, that's kind of strange. Do these things go together? Hey, I don't know. There is not enough information to say that it is impossible that Kiki Anderson just came here out of the goodness of our heart. Of course, remember what brought her here is that when the Prime Minister went to address the European Parliament and got this huge standing ovation that the Conservatives just tried to spin. Look, there's nobody there. The Prime Minister came and nobody came to watch him like this, because they showed, the part where the members of the European Parliament sit. And if you ever look at question period, well, not question period, but Parliament outside of question period, like this, there's maybe 30 people in there.
Mm-hmm.
While they're debating and whatnot, people come out and go. It's not full. The Prime Minister was there, but the gallery, the upstairs, was full to the rafters. And he got a thunderous standing ovation. And Kiki Anderson was one of the 2 European parliamentary people who decided to make this big press conference and say that our Prime Minister was sick and gross and disgusting and whatnot. And even though everybody in that parliament, except those 2 people, stood up and gave him a standing ovation, what did the Sun and the National Post run with? And again, that little thing in the report that the media is not talking about, while they're talking about all the other stuff, the media is not even telling on itself. So we're in the report too. So you got the Sun and the National Post, all them that were very, very happy to run with, hey, the Prime Minister's a disgusting prick, says the members of the European Parliament. 2 out of 500 and something. But that was the story. And the Prime Minister had cocaine on his plane in India. Same 2 papers. Gee, and one of those papers, I think I'm old enough to remember a very anti-Semitic cartoon that featured Zelensky picking Joe Biden's pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And Son Laurie, a.k.a. Pork Chop, still works for them, even though he's an anti-Jew hate crusade.
Yeah, well, because he's Jewish, so...
It's the same papers publishing these types of things. And we know from the report that some of our media has been corrupted. What are the odds that Pork Chop is on?
Probably pretty good.
So that's what I mean. That's the point where we can't get, right? We can't turn around and say, well, Pork Chop must be on the payroll, because we don't know that. There's not enough evidence. And we would never make that claim.
Indeed.
But there are people. We know from the report that there are some people in the media, and as we've mentioned on this show also before, if you were going to do foreign interference, you wouldn't just pick one party and that's it. You pick all the parties.
Mm-hmm.
You try to find the people that are most open to you in all the parties, and in the business world, and in academia, and in the press. The country that had the philosopher that produced the book, The Art of War, an ancient civilization, talking about people who are not strategic. We're not talking about people who don't know how to fight.
Oh, I have to show you something. This is from... this is really funny. It's from the Western Standard Pitch Bot.
Oh, I love
which is a parody, right? It's a parody
Yes.
on Twitter. Western Standard Pitch Bot. Breaking. Pierre Poilievre will not seek national security clearance as PM. I will not be bound by facts and intelligence.
Oh, that has levels. Sorry. I
There's
think
so
I need
many
to
levels
drink
to
for
that
one. God, that was so tasty. I almost want to gargle with it.
I know. It's a good one.
Yum. Oh, man. Jeez. I can't.
Well, from Max Fawcett, I put a link earlier in the chat. I'll post it again. This is Max Fawcett wrote an article in the National Observer dated June 10th, so yesterday. And it says, Pierre Poilievre doesn't want to talk about foreign interference. Pierre Poilievre isn't exactly known for holding his tongue.
Right? I've literally trademarked him. Like when I write it, I put TM, the mouth that won't shut up.
Yeah. He's like, what was it? Who was it? Mark Miller quipped recently, that guy's never shut his mouth in his life.
Right.
And yet, when it comes to the question of foreign interference in Canadian democracy, one that was raised again in a recent report from NSICOP, he's been uncharacteristically quiet. I wonder why that is.
And here's the irony, right? He's being says, if I read it, I can't talk. You're not talking now, buddy.
You're not talking now. The report's findings are nothing less than stunning. Members of Parliament semi-wittingly and wittingly cooperating with agents of foreign governments, including providing confidential information to the regimes in India and China. As national security expert Wesley Wark wrote in the Toronto Star, there is no other word for it. This is treason. You might think, given the CPC's previous efforts to push for a public inquiry into foreign interference, that Poilievre would be all over this. Alas, you would be wrong. I'm going to read a little bit more of this.
Oh yeah, please read it. Read it. Max Fawcett's good. Just read them.
It's good. It's good. During question period last week, on the day after it was tabled, neither Poilievre nor any of his MPs asked the government about it. A day later, after this conspicuous silence was noted by the press, Poilievre led off with a question about the report's findings before pivoting away to other issues. That might be because Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc reminded him of his own vulnerability here. Poilievre, as has been widely rumored for months now, doesn't appear to have the security clearance required to actually read the report's redacted findings. He would be much more informed than he is now, and we would invite him to do so, LeBlanc said, so he wouldn't stand up and cast aspirations on the floor of the House of Commons without any information whatsoever. He's abusing his parliamentary privilege is what he's doing.
I assume that was aspersions?
Cast aspersions, yes.
Okay.
What did I say?
Aspirations.
Oh, sorry. My apologies. Aspersions, yes. My apologies. I'm not wearing my glasses, so.
All right. I make a lot of those. So.
Well, Poilievre's ongoing refusal to get the clearance is driven, he claims, by the desire to protect his ability to comment on issues. Getting the kind of top-secret security clearance required to view sensitive materials also requires the recipient to respect confidentiality and secrecy rules. In the end, it seems like Poilievre would rather talk about things he doesn't know than know things he can't talk about. That's especially true here, given his own potential vulnerability. While it's reasonable to assume that some of the parliamentarians identified in this report are or were members of the Liberal caucus, it's also reasonable to assume that some of them are or were in Poilievre's midst. The report redacted information about two specific instances where PRC officials allegedly interfered in the leadership races of the Conservative Party of Canada. One of those races, of course, elected Pierre Poilievre. So, again, paint by numbers. I'm putting a link to it in the chat if anybody wants to click on it and read it. It's a really good article. Max Fawcett is one of our favorite writers. He's a great journalist. And he's level. You know.
Indeed. And on that, there's another thing. Is I got this from at Swizzlegizzle on Twitter. Who asks a great question, because this is really how we should be reframing things every time a conservative comes up and says, why won't the Prime Minister release the names? It's like, what's the Prime Minister hiding? Well, why are there two CPC MPs that were members of NSICOP? Why are the two let's try that again. Try that over my tongue. Why are two CPC MPs that were members of the NSICOP hiding the names? Why are they protecting the apparent Liberal Party corruption? Pierre, make your two, Alex Ruff or Rob Morrison, tell the country who is compromised. Flip it. Why are the Liberals protecting us? Well, there are Liberals and Conservatives on it. Why are you protecting the Liberals on the list?
No, it's just the Liberals doing it. But you could release the information, and you could stand up in the House and speak your mind and abuse your parliamentary privilege. You could do that. So why are you calling on the Prime Minister to do it when you could do it yourself? Because they have to point the finger of blame at somebody. They have to have a bad guy. They have to have an enemy. What they fail to understand is that Prime Minister of Canada represents every Canadian, including members of Parliament that sit on the opposite side of the House. He represents those people too.
Yep. Kid James is right. Jagmeet Singh has an opportunity here. He does. Yes. And here's the one thing. We're very hard on Jagmeet Singh.
Mm-hmm.
Very hard.
We are.
But the reason for which I would still, after the next election, prefer Jagmeet Singh to be the leader of the opposition than Pierre Poilievre is because he will freaking go get a security clearance.
Yeah. He already has it.
He will do what is needed to be done to protect the nation.
Mm-hmm.
As weak and as ineffective as he is, at least he knows enough to do the goddamn right thing when it comes to treason.
Yeah.
Which you think would be a really low bar to meet. But hey, as usual with the Conservatives, there's no bar so low that you can't limbo slither under. Unbelievable. There are 11 people, 12 if you include the Prime Minister, who could stand up at any time in the House of Commons if they really want the names released to release them. And we know, even though we don't know all the details of the report, we know enough from the news that's out there to know that there is more than one party. Likely, the two biggest ones. I would believe that there is a possibility that there is no one from the NDP who was a beneficiary.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're so low in the polls or not, but definitely be targets. I don't know. But maybe there is as well. Because still, if I was China, or if I was Russia or India, I would be looking, particularly if I was India, because I'm pretty sure that the government of India is not too fond of Mr. Singh either.
Well, no.
Just saying.
No, they wouldn't care for him at all because he's sick, right?
Right. And I wouldn't be surprised if there have been news articles and treatments of Jagmeet Singh that were probably influenced that way as well. They're agnostic. They don't care what party you're from. If you speak up against them, you get it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you seem to be open to wanting to help them, they'll help you. They're agnostic as to party. I just... All right. A couple other little notes here that we have for you. On Chrystia Freeland's capital gain announcement, we have Tyler Meredith, who used to be the past head of fiscal and economic policy for the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finances, Mr. Finance, including Freeland and Morneau, up until 2022. Says, listening to Chrystia Freeland's announcement on capital gains, she rightly reminds us all that Diefenbaker and Mulroney first introduced increases to the capital gains that eventually took us to a 75% inclusion rate. The new 66% inclusion rate will still be below that. Yes, that great communist, Brian Mulroney, increased capital gains inclusions to 75%. That guy recently that we just spent a whole few weeks loving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He would be crucified today by his own party. This unbelievable. Also, friend of the pod, these are just going to be little random snippets here.
Okay.
Laura Babcock has something really good going on. Oh, darn. I wish I had the clip. Do you have that Marit Stiles clip?
Which one?
She's calling Doug Ford corrupt.
I'll see if I can find it.
Oh, darn. Yeah. Anyway, Laura Babcock saw the clip of Marit Stiles calling Doug Ford corrupt. She was in a scrum, and she just came right out and said it, and a lot of people were challenging her. There you go. I've got it for you, Mr. Grizzly.
I have it.
You have it? Okay. Challenge. And this was brilliant. So this prompted Laura Babcock to say, I need to get her on the show. And she is. So she'll be on Laura Babcock's show on Thursday.
I want her on our show.
It's a government that doesn't actually want to get any work done and doesn't want to be held to account because guess what? This is a corrupt government. This is a corrupt premier.
Calling the premier corrupt, that kind of came
It's
out
not
of
the first time I've said that. I've been calling him.
Have you said it outside of the house?
I have said it right here, standing right here multiple times. You know what? He wants to sue me. Go for it. Come on out. We'll see what kind of information we can get. This is a government that doesn't actually want to get any work done and doesn't want to be.
Wow. Like,
You're corrupt. Don't like it? Sue me. Let's have some discovery. Father Mucker.
yeah.
Have another slice of cherry cheesecake.
You know he won't.
Blam.
You know he
I
won't
just-
pursue it.
I
He
know
won't.
that. I know that. But this is like, I'm sitting there and it's just like, blam. You all get a taste of the bitch pudding. It's just like, yes. He's corrupt. And the journalist, oh my God, you called him corrupt. I was like, why is this the freaking narrative? I can't believe you called him corrupt. He's as corrupt as the day is long.
Yeah.
He's a one-man crime spree. It's like the narrative shouldn't be, oh my God, he's corrupt. It's like, it's about goddamn I'd be a journalist going, it's about goddamn time somebody said it. Please tell us more.
Well, let me show you something here. This is fascinating. Some of the back and forth about this commentary. Which is it? There it is. I'll show you this. Put this on the screen here, and I'll scroll down. So this is a corrupt government. This is a corrupt premier. A major accusation from the NDP leader today as the legislature breaks until October. Full story at Toronto City News. Let's just scroll down the page here to the first response. And the reporters, oh, you called him a name. Let's focus on the name calling and not the context of the accurate accusation. The media needs to start calling Ford what he is. Corrupt. I mean... that's right.
To me, the news is somebody said it outside of the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
Got it corrupt. And clearly it's not the first time. She says, I've said it right here, but apparently they didn't pick up on it before. But now today, oh, you called him corrupt. Let's focus on you. Make the story about she called him corrupt. No. Why did she call him corrupt? Dig into that. So they get... And again, are there journalists that are compromised?
Oh, yeah. Must be. I certainly think so, anyway. Yeah.
Now, some of them just suck at their jobs.
Mm.
That happens. Not everybody that sucks at their job happens to be corrupt. But if I was a corrupt journalist, if I had been bought off when somebody made a comment like that, that's precisely what I would do. Oh my God, you called him a name. I would yell squirrel and go that way.
Yeah.
Pull the story away from the actual story and make it about something else. That is what I would be paid to do if somebody had hired me to do that. Yes, Kit Saucy journalists have had a hard time making money of late. They are vulnerable. That is true. This one is from Kit Vim. I love this. I love it when our kids come up with great stuff. Pierre Poilievre is still going along with his blah, blah, blah rent thing, which we already debunked because we actually went to look at data and looked at the average rent prices in Toronto for a bachelor and a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and a 3-bedroom in 2015 and in 2024 and, well, 2023, because we didn't have data for 2024 at the time, I guess. And we even went back to when Stephen Harper became prime minister. So he's back out there and he goes, when I was a housing minister in 2015, Canadians could afford rent. After 9 years of Trudeau, lie, we're not at 9 yet, rent has doubled. They're not worth the cost of rent. And he says that the 1-bedroom rent in 2015 was $973 and 1-bedroom rent in 2024 was $1,902. Now, I am sure that there were probably some parts where, like if you're in Toronto, like somebody responded to me, well, I know somebody that was paying $1,200 for a bachelor in Toronto. Like, well, yeah, probably right smack downtown. I guess, but it's the average rent. And we already debunked that, right? He says it's what was it, the amount that he said it was?
$950?
Sorry, I need to go back.
Is that what it was?
973. Well, according to our research, the average one bedroom in Toronto at that time was 1,103, not 973. Interesting that. And according to our research, actually, if we go back to 2006, the average rent for one bedroom was 995. He says it was 973. So he keeps lowering the price of what it was to make the distance between the current price larger, so it makes it look like it's doubled. Well, we already said between October 2006 and October 2023, in 17 years, average rent went up 84%. It hasn't even doubled yet since Harper became prime minister. But Pierre wants you to believe it happened all in the last 8 years.
Right.
Kit Vim just slid in with, he's showing his lack of economics knowledge again. Jeff, when you're making a comparison like this, the values must be expressed in real dollars adjusted for time, not nominal dollars. Where did you get these figures?
Yeah. Constant dollars, right? So it adjusts for inflations to let you know.
Yes. Now, the numbers I presented are not adjusted for, I assume are not adjusted for inflation.
Probably not.
From these services, because they just tell us what it was at that time. But for these purposes, it's good, because if I'm using the numbers in the same way that PP is using them, even though he's not using the numbers correctly, he's lying to us in two ways. He's lying to us in two ways. He's lowering the number back in the day to make the spread look larger, so it makes it look that rents have gone up more. And he's not adjusting the numbers in the past for inflation. Don't vote for people who think you're stupid and who treat you like you are. Just don't. And now, the first clip we showed today, there was a lady, blonde lady, sitting to the right. That's Jennifer O'Connell.
Yes.
That was the MP that said, "Boo-hoo, get over it." Frank Caputo, who is a CPC MP for Kamloops Thompson Caribou, announced yesterday on Twitter how it is that he is going to waste your money today. Mr. Grizzly, if you put it up, puts out a tweet, says, "Given Jen O'Connell's contempt for the seriousness of foreign interference, I will be moving the following motion tomorrow at committee, where we study foreign interference, among other things." Notice of motion, Frank Caputo, MP, Friday, June 7th, 2024. Given that, A, the Liberal Party secretary said, "Boo-hoo, get over it," when committee was questioning the Minister of Public Safety, Democratic Institutions and Intergovernmental Affairs, the Honorable Dominique LeBlanc, about elected MPs that have knowingly helped hostile foreign countries and worked against Canada's interest. That never happened. That never happened. The Liberal Parliamentary Secretary said, "Boo-hoo, get over it," when Garnet Genuis interrupted the questioning of the Minister of Public Safety, Dominique LeBlanc, to complain about the fact that MP Jennifer O'Connell, member of the committee, was using her voice a little too loudly for his tender and delicate ears.
Well, he's got the most punchable face.
That's what actually happened. B, the committee called on MP Jennifer O'Connell to apologize to all Canadians of diaspora communities who are the targets of foreign interference, and to all Canadians concerned about the integrity of our institutions, and report this finding to the House. For telling Garnet Genuis, "Boo-hoo, get over it," because he's whining because she was being too loud. Why do you have to apologize to diaspora communities for that?
It doesn't even make any sense.
So, this man is going to go into Parliament, into committee, with all the money, your money, that's being spent to operate that committee, lights, heat, electricity, staff, simultaneous interpreters, papers, photocopying, salaries, pensions, benefits for everyone that's there. All that money, your dime, your time, because we could be investigating foreign interference, right? Actual foreign interference. He is going to go in there with this motion that is defamatory and provably untrue. He is going to drop a motion that defames another MP, a colleague. That's what he's going to do today with your money. That's what he's going to do today with your time that should be dedicated to actually discussing foreign interference. He's going to go in there and say, she was
mean.
She was not. She hurt my fees, and this is how she did it, and actually lie about how she did it. He is going to abuse of public funds for strictly partisan purposes.
Nothing more. That's all it is.
None of that is for your benefit. None of that's going to make your life better, put food on your plate, protect your nation, cure cancer, find you a job. None of that. It's a purely partisan thing. Accusing another MP of something they didn't do to get the clips, that's a purely partisan activity. That should come from party funds, should be on your own time and not on committee.
And she called it out for that too.
On your own time, off your hours.
She called it out for just that. He's seeking a social media clip.
So instead of going there and working on foreign interference, the MGTOW party is going to have Daddy Frank go to committee and scold little girl for being a bad girl, using her voice too loud, and put the little lady in her place by lying about her. That's their plan for the day. The leader won't get security clearance, and the member on the Foreign Interference Committee is actually not going to discuss foreign interference. They're going to find a way to smear a woman. They're going to go full MGTOW on her.
I got two quick things for you. I just ran the numbers on. You said rent in 2006 was $9.95. Was the average?
I'd have to go back and look, but yeah, something like that.
I just ran it through the Bank of Canada inflation calculator.
Oh yes.
And $9.95 in 2006 would cost $1,463.34 in 2024. So, and what is the current average rent price right now?
According to PP, take it with a grain of salt. Sorry. I have to when it comes to him. Where did it go?
I don't know. But yeah, you're looking at a $500 increase, basically. Almost $500 increase. Just due to inflationary increases. And then, of course, we know that landlords will get what they can for a property. I understand that. Sure, it's capitalism. Yeah, I get it.
He said 973 in 2015, and he's saying it's 1,902 now.
973 in 2015?
Yeah.
2015, huh? That would be 1238, according to this.
Yeah.
It's a 27% increase.
27. Wow, it's amazing how 27% in real dollars becomes doubled.
Well, now that's just so. No, let's look at it this way: 973 in 2024 is valued at 1238. So if you inflation adjusted 2015's numbers, that's it would have been 1238 by today's numbers, right? So it's 1700, which is basically what people are paying right now.
Yes, but he's saying it's 1,902. Not 1,700. So again, lowering one side, raising the other to make the spread.
And that's for what, a one bedroom?
One bedroom. It's just, like I said, the guy just lies.
Checking with CTV Ottawa from February 2024. A new report from rentals.ca and Urban Nation shows an average cost to rent a purpose-built apartment or condo in Ottawa is $2,219 a month in January, down from $2,228 in December and $2,238 in November. According to the report, the average cost to rent a one-bedroom apartment in Ottawa was $2,045 when was this written? This was written in February, so that would have been in January. Down from $2,069 in December. So that's average in Ottawa. The average cost for a one-bedroom apartment in Kingston is $1,878.
Mm-hmm.
The renters in Gatineau are paying an average of $1,795 for a purpose-built apartment or condo, and a one-bedroom.
He's probably giving a national. He's giving a national average that includes Toronto and Vancouver there.
A one-bedroom costing an average of $1,710. So yeah, he's including all. And I mean, if you live in a smaller town, your rent's going to be a lot less. Simple as that, right?
Yeah. So he's presenting an average, but again, none of that graphic says, there's no little star that says average rent for Canada or average rent for Toronto like this. When we present our numbers, we say the average rent in Toronto was. We tell you where and when and what year, so that you have all the information. He's not doing that. He's not doing that. And there's a reason. The next thing I have is another CPC MP, Larry Brock, who is the MP for Brantford Brant. He's been very active lately, and I want to show you another little trick that the Conservatives are doing here. So if you'll put it up there, he's got this graphic that says golden years after 9 years of Trudeau, and like these fake newspaper articles. Housing crisis is forcing more seniors into shelters, doctors say. High cost of living punishing seniors to riskier investments. We're being ignored. Okay, he put a lot of money into these graphics. Clearly. It goes, homelessness is growing among the 50-plus population, many experiencing it for the first time. Our seniors are worse off under this NDP Liberal coalition. Trudeau must go.
Mm-hmm.
What's missing from this?
Ow.
Oh, what'd you do?
Bumped my ear on the microphone.
Jeez. What? Does anybody notice? No? Okay, I'll tell you what's missing. Here we go. In this thing, this whole tweet, notice how Larry complains about the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Notice how Larry offers no solutions. Other than Trudeau must go. Notice he doesn't promise he'll make it better. Homelessness is growing. Our seniors are worse off. Trudeau must go. He's not actually saying he'll make it better. He's not actually saying he'll fix it. He's only pointing fingers. It's terrible. They did it. He's got to go.
No solutions. Just
Not even
slogans.
Not even a promise that he'll fix it. Look at everything. Everything is terrible. You got to vote him out.
Okay, and what are you going to do to make it better?
And
they never have anything. No, just put me in charge and I'll make things better. Okay, how are you going to do that?
But he didn't even say that.
No, he didn't even say that.
He didn't even commit to wanting to lift a finger to make it better. He says, "Oh, bad, his fault." That's it. Kick him out. People that keep on pointing out to you what's going wrong and whose fault it is, but never promising that they'll fix it and not telling you how or when.
Yeah.
They're not going to fix it. They're not going to fix it. And the other sort of bombshell that's happened a couple of days ago, but we didn't talk about it very much. But billionaire Frank Stronach, father of Belinda Stronach,
91 years old, been arrested.
91 years old, founder of Magna International, the big international giant auto parts company. That's if we're talking about companies. When we talk about we need big companies on the world stage that make Canada proud, that was one of them that we'd always point to as a success story. He's been arrested, and by Peel Regional Police and charged with several offenses, including rape, sexual assault, and forcible confinement. The alleged offenses span from the 1980s until last year.
Wow.
There is more than one victim connected to the charges, but an exact number was not given. Stronach's lawyer says that his client categorically denies the allegations and looks forward to responding to them. He's due in court next month. Now, there are some things going on with regard to his connection to the Conservative Party of Canada. In January, I believe it was, there was a big fundraiser that took place for the Conservative Party of Canada. And even though Pierre Poilievre keeps on telling us that he's not in for lobbyists and he's not in the bag for big business, well, people like Frank Stronach were there.
Yeah, it was a Poilievre and Stronach fundraiser. I have it right here.
Yeah.
Is it,
and then there's and then there was another thing that is going around about 26. There was a 26. Doug Ford made a $23 to $26 million announcement supporting for something for Magna, and a lot of people are pointing that out now. But it's going around the web as if this is something that might have just happened. That's something that happened in February of 2023. So it isn't like
recent.
2 days before Frank Stronach got arrested, or 1 day after Frank Stronach got arrested, that Doug Ford handed $23.6 million to Frank Stronach.
It's a while ago.
It's a while.
So
February.
Let's not, that's...
but the thing resurfaced, and then people go, I like this, but okay, yeah, fine. But I just looked at, I went on the web and said, $26 million, Doug Ford, Magna, and then I looked, it's like, oh, February.
Last year.
Yeah. But on the upside, and this is going to be very obscure, but last year when we were doing our end of season sort of retrospective, and we were talking about people on social media that were influencers like this that we liked, and I was saying there was that guy from Ontario who sort of like works in the wild, like this, and comes on like this, and he was a very good looking man.
Oh yeah.
And I couldn't remember his name. Through that, I finally found who he was.
Okay.
So James Aroff, and I believe that on his Twitter, if you want to follow him, Wild Ontario something, I think it is Wild Ontario News, James Aroffs. So the shout out comes about 6 months late when we finally figured out who you are. But yes, James Aroffs. Definitely worth a follow. Although his Twitter hasn't been that active as of late. He seems to have moved more to TikTok over there. But just if you happen to see that thing going on, it's like, Doug Ford just gave $26 billion. It wasn't just, it was last year. But still, right? The company you keep. So yeah.
Well, and up to that point in time, we all thought Frank was a good guy.
Well, yes. I mean, I don't know if there was a like was the case for John Gomeshi, where everybody was like, I was like, nobody knows, but everybody knows. Don't be caught in the room alone with them, right? Just so I don't know if there was eventually, as these things come out, you hear whether or not that was the case. So we don't know if he was. I don't want to say so good at it. Good is the bad word. Don't know if he had his act down,
right,
to the point where nobody would suspect that anything was going on, or whether or not he was somewhat sloppy and it was the world's worst kept secret. There's not enough detail going on about that. But as far as I knew, he was a good guy.
Oh yeah, we all.
I had never heard rumors or stories or complaints like up until it's just when it happened, it was like, whoa, okay, didn't expect that. But there you go. So we're going to be, I don't know if there's going to be some efforts at distancing that we are going to see. Oh, read an employee tweet yesterday. It was the case. It says Carol, according to an employee's tweet. So again, grain of salt. This is not corroborated or whatnot, but apparently people knew that he was handsy. Many NDA lawsuits paid out stuff. So again, I don't. This is what's. I have no reason to doubt Carol. By the way, just saying. But it's not something I've seen myself, and I personally can't vouch or verify that is the case. But I am sure that if that is the case, as the days go on, there are going to be interviews and stories with, and people will want to come on and speak out and talk, and we will find out. We will find out. Because, yeah, I know owns a giant corporation. What are the odds? He was a great guy through and through. Probably. If you own a corporation that's that big, chances are you've done one or two things along the way.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
That if not illegal or moral, might be slightly fattening. Let's put it that way. But yeah, everyone's a great guy to someone too, indeed. But yeah, that's going to work its way through its system as well. In Calgary, of course, you've heard all the whole break of the water main that happened. She's getting the mayor of Calgary, Jyoti Gondek, is being crucified by everyone except for Naheed Nenshi, who's like, thank you for doing the right thing.
Well, I've got something here from Naheed.
Okay.
Is it Naheed or Naheed? I can't remember.
I thought it was Naheed.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember, but like when I saw the debate, everybody was calling Naheed.
I'll just call him Mr. Nenshi then.
Mr. Nenshi.
So Mr. Nenshi.
I believe that like when I watched a clip of him saying his announcement, I think he said Naheed, but I'd have to go back.
I think so too. So this is from May 8th, but it just came across my feed now. He says, remember, and I can't remember if we discussed this or not, but remember when there was a shortage of children's pain medication and Danielle Smith's government spent $80 million to import the medication from Turkey?
Mm-hmm.
We've now learned the UCP were warned the supply they ordered would arrive after the regular supply would come and after the crisis had largely passed. Like,
and she did it anyway.
She did it anyway.
So action for action's sake.
She wanted
no amount of money was too much to spend to create the illusion of action.
Yeah. Yeah. Just brutal.
Oh my God.
Brutal.
So on the thing, however, when it comes to the Calgary water main, I know people sit down for this one. Jen Gerson.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that I'm hard on, but another one who has the broken clock thing. Like some days she's just so off, and other days she's freaking brilliant. Well, here's a moment of brilliance. Jen Gerson. Okay, I'm going to put on my comms hat for half a minute here because the way this water crisis in Calgary is being communicated is really bad, and I'm going to try to help. And before people say like, oh my God, she's attacking, the mayor of Calgary, Jyoti Gondek, admits that the city has not done a good enough job when talking about the water crisis. Our communications need to be clear and they need to be plain language. We need to provide people with real examples of how to conserve water. We need graphics and we need visuals to demonstrate what the situation actually looks like. In a nutshell, we need to do a lot better for Calgarians. That is Jyoti Gondek who said it. And she probably said it after this thread came across her monitor. 2. Firstly, please explain clearly why the breaking of the water main is affecting the entire city's potable water supply. Use clear and simple maps. We need maps. We need visuals. Next, don't use figures like reduce water use by 25%. No one knows what that means. Offer clear behavioral restrictions, i.e. no bathing, no watering plants, etc., etc. Be ruthlessly consistent in communicating those restrictions. Yes. 4. I'm hearing Calgary will, quote, run out of water. Nobody is explaining what that means. Will the taps run dry? Will we be living out of water buckets? Run out of water? When? Communicate timelines. Communicate clear consequences for failure. 3. Simple, basic messages need to be communicated here consistently, repeatedly, and across every single channel. 1, what is happening and why? 2, what we need to do. 3, what will happen if we don't do it and when. Also, look at other crisis comms examples. Twice daily pressers, live streamed, regular and consistent hours across the span of the emergency from SEMA or equivalent, at a lectern, authoritative vibe and tone, like we saw with COVID. Every morning, 10 a.m., the Prime Minister was out. Like this, and then it was followed by in the press gallery, like you had a whole bunch of people doing the thing, talking about the various departments, and every day would be a different set of people depending on what the topic of the day was. But it was always at the same time. And you knew it. At the first, it was every day, and then later on, it was like 2 or 3 days a week, but it was always at the same time. It was scheduled. You knew when a plane crashes, and you get the Transportation Safety Board. This is the information you have now. We will be back at 3 p.m. with this. And then you come back at 3 p.m. with this. Every day at noon, we will have an update. Every day at 9 a.m., we will have an update. We will let you know. This, and it's consistent. She is right. Mm-hmm. She is right. Also, this really is not the moment for taking pot shots at other levels of government, and doing so makes people tune out, assuming the crisis is overstated, partisan as usual nonsense. Regardless of who is at fault, it's bad crisis comms. Save the pot shots for later. Hello, everybody trying to take the mayor out right now. That one was for you. Do we need to shut down restaurants and cancel events? Honestly, I don't know if the situation is that dire or not, but these are the kinds of actions that signal serious emergency to people. Like, for example, when the NBA shut down during COVID, everybody go, ooh, this is serious. Because if the NBA is willing to forego money,
yeah,
ooh, this must be bad. But this is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct comms. This, I, you know what? Jen Gerson, for all the times they tear a strip off you.
There's a kudos. Yeah. It's a kudos.
Standing ovation.
Yeah. Deserved.
That's how it should be done. That is good journalism. Right there. That is news you can use. That's not just coming with the problems, coming with solutions. It is a valid critique. It has basis in fact. That's how it should be done. That's the level we should be expecting every day. That should be entry point. As a foundation, that should be the floor of how good it is, and then it should get better from there. That's what we should be expecting. Jen Gerson delivered. I tip my hat. That's what we need. All right.
Let's just put a bow on this and wrap this puppy up.
I wanted to do the D-Day stuff, but I guess we'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah,
the one last thing I will mention here, because it's big news. In Israel, Benny Gantz, who is the only centrist member of Netanyahu's war cabinet, because there's an emergency sort of unity government type thing, has quit the cabinet. Not quit parliament, but quit the war cabinet and quit the emergency government. June 8th was the deadline he did give a couple of weeks ago, and June 8th is come and gone. So Benny Gantz is a man of his word, and he has follow through. He said if this wasn't done by the 8th, I'd be gone, and he is. Now this creates a situation in which Netanyahu is now even more dependent on his partners, who are even further to the right, and literally has no moderating force at the moment. So this could be very bad. He accused Netanyahu of putting his own political survival ahead of Israel's security needs. Quote, regrettably, Netanyahu is preventing us from advancing towards true victory. That is why we are leaving the emergency government today with a heavy heart, but full of confidence. Now, Gantz knows what he's talking because he's a former military man. He says he's answered the call of the state of Israel because it needed him, despite the fact Israel was led by a bad government. In fact, he joined the war cabinet because Israel was being led by a bad government. But he claimed that he was no longer having sufficient impact as a member of the war cabinet. that decisions were not being made for military reasons and not for security reasons, but for personal political reasons of the Prime Minister. Gantz wants them to reprioritize the release of hostages, and he wants a diplomatic solution and a plan for the day after in Gaza. But none of these things were taken seriously enough because Netanyahu wants a forever war.
Right.
And he is also calling for elections to take place this autumn.
Gantz is?
Gantz, yep.
Okay.
It's been 1 year. It'll be 1 year since this thing and I was like this. We've seen how you've handled it. Let's have some elections because you're not getting it done. We need a better thing. So that's going to be a big deal. So keep that. If you see some, there will be changes as a result of this, and I assume it's going to get much worse because the moderating force is gone. All right, kids and cubs, do we have a show, Mr. Grizzly?
We do indeed, sir.
All right. I had so much more for you.
I have a meeting coming up in like 10 minutes. Not even 10 minutes.
There was a lot that happened. Kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember that sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. Please tell your peeps and poops all about us. If you would like to make sure that you don't miss an episode, you don't have to, thanks to the Ray Girl, who sponsored our pod page. You go to podpage.com/TheTrueNorthEagerBeaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And if you click on subscribe there, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it will come directly to you. If you would like to support us in other ways, make like Kit Elaine and choose to have a beyond awesome day, everyone. And remember to smash the button before you leave, and you can smash the button on our True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated page. That's growing like gangbusters. Please, 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 please. We really appreciate it. There you go. That's the QR code if you're watching to go to our pod page. But do click our buttons, like, share, subscribe, smash, go, set, and smash even. Hey, it makes us happy. And if you'd like to support us in other ways, then you can leave a tip and contribute by contributing to the Emergency Hydration Fund here at the Beaver Lodge by going to our coffee page. That's the QR code by Mr. Grizzly's head right there. And if you're listening, well, I don't have to say www, coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver. You know the www stuff.
If you don't by now, it's have you been asleep for the last 30 years? Did you know something, sir? Since we started today's show, we started out with 1,470 subscribers. Actually, it was 1,469 just before we went live, and now we're at 1,489. So we've picked up 20 more subscribers since we started today's show.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
It's almost like performing live now. Thanks. If you would like to leave us a donation at our tip jar because you would like to encourage us to do more, we would really, really appreciate that. And that QR code right now will bring you, by Mr. Grizzly's head, if you scan it right now, will bring you to our YouTube page where you can smash our buttons there.
Because you might be watching this on Twitter or Facebook or
exactly
the Crier Media YouTube page, or we're trying to get as many people to join our page as possible, our YouTube channel. Thank you very much.
Yes, that helps us a lot.
It does. It really does.
Yes, indeed. Let's see what else. Because democracy is something that you do right. The Minister of Veterans Affairs, Jeanette Petitpas-Taylor, and ask her to do better for our veterans. Do write to your MPs and ask for that as well. If you are in Alberta, participate in the NDP leadership race. And if you are in Saskatchewan, New Brunswick, or British Columbia, please get involved with regard to provincial elections. I don't know if they're looking for people yet to man polling stations, but that's always a wonderful thing that you can do. Or, for example, if you have a candidate, some door knocking, envelope stopping, call bank, phone banks, all that kind of stuff. Very, 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 very helpful. Get involved in the democratic process, right? It's not a spectator sport. Democracy is something that you do. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your eager beaver saying it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom, please?
Yes. Please help spread the word about the mental health walk. June 15th, this Saturday, June 15th, in Canada's capital, right here in beautiful downtown Ottawa. We will be walking, taking a 5K walk around the Centertown area. the place that was occupied by the convoy back in January and February of 2022. We're going to walk through the same route, and starting at the Museum of Nature.
Yep.
And then we will do our 5K walk, finishing at the Lieutenant's Pump, where we will do a live pubcast. So if you can spread the word about the mental health walk, it's coming up this Saturday, June 15th, the day before Father's Day. So there's a double reminder. Mental health for the men in your life on Saturday, the day before Father's Day.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you're in Ottawa, please meet us at the Canadian Museum of Nature.
It'll be
corner
at the
of Argyle and Metcalfe.
Yeah, it'll be at the east parking lot.
Right around noon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll probably start walking, I guess, maybe around 12:15 or something.
Something like that, yeah.
So muster around noon. Senator Patrick Brazo will be there. I believe that his lovely wife will be there with him. So we will walk. If you're in Ottawa, join us. Now, if you're not available at that time, that's okay.
That's fine.
Just take a walk at any point during the day, right? If you're not in Ottawa, take a walk where you are. I guess if you're a man, call one of your brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I guess do check in like this. And you know what? It's not only for men, right? It's for all genders.
Yes.
Women, people who are genderqueer, gender diverse, non-binary. Walk for the men in your lives. Call them up. Take them for a walk. We're trying to encourage men to talk to each other, but we're just trying to encourage men to talk.
Yes.
That's the number one part, like this, and hopefully normalize it within their brothers. So please do that. I saw Kit ask about T-shirts. Yes, we do. I'm going to be wearing them all week during the show. Trust me, I will take them off the show, so I'm not going to be wearing the same T-shirt all week long, all the time. Just so you know, you have to say these things.
It's just for the show.
Just for the show. Just for the show. But if you would like one, yes, you can have one. It's $35, taxes and shipping included. All you do is send your mailing address to truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. That's where you can also send comments if you would like to communicate with us or tips for stories. But in this case, send your mailing address, your shirt size. We can go up to 2XL, I believe. So, and your address, and we will get it to you. We're printing them on demand and getting them to you. We might, if we get things out tomorrow morning or Wednesday morning, some of them might get to you in time for Saturday. But if not, you will still have it. We will get it to you. Thank you very much, and we appreciate your support. Those who have bought some already, thank you. Thank you. It means a lot to us. Let's see what else. And this week, hopefully, we're still setting up times, but we will have interviews with our main beneficiary, and we will have some interviews, hopefully, with somebody from Spoke to a Bloke in Australia. And hopefully we will have an interview with somebody from the Addicts in the Dark podcast as well. So we'll, if we can arrange times for that, we're going to have a very strong focus this week on mental health and guests that will speak of it as well. All right. So please, if you can participate, like I said, on the day, go take a walk with a friend, take some pictures like this, post it with the hashtag mental health walk, right? So that we can find it. There is a dedicated Facebook page now for the event as well. So if you look it up, the First National like this, you can also post your stuff there. All right. But we're trying to create some spaces that are event specific so that everybody knows where to go to. But if you're anywhere on social media and you use the hashtag mental health walk, we will find it. Okay. All right. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your eager beaver saying it could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, I think it's time to cue that cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. We have great comments from the kits here. Saucy says, bring some with you on Saturday for the people who will be there and extras if you can. Yes, we actually, yeah, that might be a good idea. I'm a little worried about, we do have a couple of extras for people to wear for visuals and graphics and whatnot so that we can plan for next year. We're a little hesitant on printing a lot because, well, first of all, we have to front the money for them. And if we don't sell them, then we have inventory and we want to make sure that we have as much money to give people. But we will have some. We did do an initial print of 12 in various different sizes so that we can have some, and those ones we will have there. Kit Linda M says, raffle off a t-shirt signed by the Beaver and the Bear donations to a mental health charity. I like that idea. We will do that. We will do that. And Kit Saucy also says, when you do this next year, I'm going to get my town to join in. We have a physical activity and mental health committee that this would work well with. Boom. Love it. Next year's going to be bigger and better, but this year's already bigger than we had thought when we pitched this, decided we were going to do this just a few weeks ago. So, hey, thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate all of your help and support, and we hope that you have a most wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take care.
No, a beaverific day. A beaverific
day, yeah. All right. See you later.
Bye.
You